Hi everyone, welcome to the Stage by Stage show live with me, Trevor New, and tonight's special guest very shortly will be James Cullen. So thanks very much for all the kind comments about the last show with Frank Kelly, the Mark II Escort internet sensation. Lots of downloads on that, and he finally got his 1 millionth view on YouTube. We got that job sorted as well, so it's great. What a legend he is. So thanks for that. So tonight, live on Twitter, live on Facebook, and on YouTube as always. If you're on YouTube or on Facebook, please feel free to add any comments, ask any questions for James, and we'll get those up there. Any reminders of stories as well, I'm sure he'll be glad to have those. So if you haven't seen any of the previous programs, it's dead easy to find them. You go to stagebystage.com/blog. All the videos there, like a Kenny McKinstry, John Lyons, it goes back loads and loads. I think we've got 20 somewhat now, right the way back to May last year, including Rory Kennedy and Gordon Noble. And Rory Kennedy has been our IT expert, top technician tonight, and getting James set up. So he's been behind the scenes doing that. So plenty of videos for you to watch, plenty of rally stories, and also on there we've got the podcasts. So podcasts go right the way back to May last year as well. The latest of which is with journalist John McElroy. John's went on to be the deputy editor of Auto Express, get that one wrong. Auto Express and Car Buyer, but originally started off in Motor News. And just to give you a bit of a flavour for that one, have a listen to this, folks.
You are coming home and there might be a 3-week gap, but in 2 of those 3 weeks you might be in Bavaria meeting Armin Schwarz for 3 days and then going to see Hyundai test in Spain for 3 days, or driving a Hyundai back from Spain, which took 4 days. If you think back, John, to when you were 13, here you are, you're still getting up in the morning and you're going in and reading car magazines for a living. You get paid to read good stories. There are people I've never even heard of. And somebody will just send me a link saying, have you seen this guy's YouTube channel? Have you seen his blog? And I look at it and suddenly there's like 73 articles or 112 videos. And I look at them and go, wow, he's good. Chris Harris's tactic was to say, what is it you don't want to do this week? Let me know what it is and I'll do it. If you love something, totally immerse yourself. If that ultimately leads to a job, you're absolutely quids in. I mean, because even if you don't earn that much money, you're doing something that you absolutely adore.
I really enjoyed that, folks. You can find it, as I say, on stagebystage.com/blog. I've also got one that I'm editing at the minute with Robbie Philpott, which is absolutely fascinating. Robbie Philpott, you'll all remember, co-drove Kenny McKinstry amongst other people, Mark Lovell, Phil Collins, but went on to be an extremely successful businessman, and just understanding the commonalities between co-driving and running businesses right up to international level and FTSE 150 companies. It's really interesting. I'm looking forward to getting that one released. Hopefully we'll get that out by Friday of this week, all being well. So tonight's guest then is James Cullen, 2 times winner of the Donegal International Rally, former clerk of the course of the rally as well. So here's just a quick flavour of James then.
James Cullen is proving to be one of the sensations of the rally. In his first Group B drive, he is in 6th place. James Cullen, however, is delighted to be back in home territory and broadsides the Nissan spectacularly. James Cullen is inspired. His Mall's Gap time has made him realise that victory is far from impossible. The first real drama of the rally. James Cullen has rode badly up the stage. And here comes our hero, physically launching the Better Blinds and Tony Kelly Cars sponsored Ascona at the Donegal countryside. James Cullen arrives like a wedding car.
For James Cullen and Ellen Morgan, this is utopia, to win your first international and win it at home.
The adrenaline was gushing through his system as James flung the Impreza at his home stages in a historic fight back.
There we go. Let's welcome James Cullen. How are you, James?
Not so bad at all, Trevor. Good to see you.
That brings back a few memories, doesn't it?
That certainly brings back a few memories, and you know the one that jumps out is actually Plum's voice.
Uh-huh.
It's just the voice of motorsport that we grew up with, like for down the years, and it's just it's like a Murray Walker. There's nobody does it better.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We had a great program with Plum, and he sold a few videos and DVDs in the back of it. He maybe sell some more of those. That Titan series is fantastic as well, isn't it?
They're all great. Like, and when sort of credit to him, like he has chronicled that era of Irish rallying. Like it's that's now I suppose it's only YouTube now and TG Car or wherever ever do it nowadays. Like
It's brilliant. Yeah. So welcome along. It's good to have you on here. Certainly, this is all about rally stories, and no better man to tell a few stories. The knowledge that you have of rallying, and just a proper rally man. So it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it as you go through tonight. So hopefully you'll enjoy the experience. Let's see who's in and who's with us today. So Rurik's there. Hi, you lads. Hi, Rurik. Who else? Good evening, Trevor. Looking forward to now. Good evening, Anthony. Good to have you here. There's a few people tagging people in it. Hi, Gavin. Gavin McMiniman's there. Evening, Trevor and James. No Donegal Rally of the year again. No, not at the minute, Matt. Martin Cullen will be watching tomorrow. More time than hope. It's cracker bound to be well, Cullen. Hopefully. Yeah, indeed. Patrick Brides is here.
Right.
Hi, Patrick. And JP Mooney. We're all here tonight. So we'll get going in a second. So, rallying and James Cullen, it wasn't always rallying. It was football probably before you got into the sport, and athletics and all sorts of wonderful things. You and Mr. Kennedy, who lived like close beside each other, didn't you?
We're actually quite close neighbours at the time, and Glencar had a great old football team at the time and all that. And that's what we all did. Like, and then I was more into athletics for some reason or other, and my dad was involved in athletics and the club and that sort of thing, and I was actually reasonably good at it, which probably helped as well.
What was your go-to discipline then? What was
I was a sprinter, would you believe? You wouldn't think to look at me now, but I was a sprinter, and like a good few Donegal titles, 100, 200, and I would have been All-Ireland level. It would have been 440 yards back in those days.
Uh-huh.
And it was great. It was a guy called Patsy McGonigal got me into it at the college at the time, who would be the Irish team, the Irish athletics team manager for the Olympics and all that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it was a great way of getting away from college. You got away to travel everywhere and got away in the sports team. And sure, if you're a middling runner at all, you got a seat in the bus and off you were. Like, but actually was pretty good at it. And then I kind of cocked that up. Then I had a bit of a motorbike accident, and that sort of wrecked the job and that, and broke a few limbs and stuff like that. And then through that, I got back into rallying again. Actually, I used to always watch rallying. Obviously, you come from Letterkenny and Donegal, or you're that age. The Donegal Rally was the biggest thing that hit here.
Yeah.
And because of this tonight, I was starting to think back when I actually started, but I actually did my first event in '75. Myself and Joe Freeland had chatted about the last day, and Joe's memory is much better than mine, and his facts are pretty good. So he's a bit of an oracle when it comes to those sort of things.
Uh-huh.
So that's, it's a long time, and started off as co-driver. Would you believe? Yeah,
Uh-huh.
That's where all the good grounding came from.
Yeah.
And
So
the navigation rallies in Donegal back in the day, they were like Grand Prix. This was the be all and end all. There was I think 3 of them.
Uh-huh.
4, can't remember. And everybody of them, and myself and Rory started out. I started out co-driving on them, and then I drove on them, and Rory co-drove for me. And people like Gordy Noble and all sorts of guys come down here to do these events. And a lot of us in the early days, like maybe people are rallying now. It was actually my same rally car that I did the Donegal Rally in '79. That was my navigation rally car. But it had a different set of tires, and that was it, with big, thick, heavy, I can't remember what you called them. They were like a Dunlop big A2 at the time, if anybody remembers that far back.
Yeah.
But a big, thick, heavy, about a 6-inch sidewall on them. They were like, they weighed about 3 stone each or something like that.
Uh-huh.
They were totally puncture proof and all that. And big battles down here, Derek McMahon and Eamon Harvey and all the guys. I remember big education actually. You know, when you were young and new to the sport, and you only went out to watch it. Like I remember cycling out to not far from where I live today, so about another 2 miles out the road to the Claremans, they call it, would be in the Trenta stage, would have been a famous stage back in the days, just to watch it, and head down to what was the old railway station, or McMahon's garage, where Scrutiny was.
Yeah.
And like you had all these cars coming, Porsches and stuff like that. You know, it was an unbelievable spectacle. It was great upbringing.
Yeah, but the big thing then was the Donegal Motor Club Championship. That was a big thing to win, wasn't it? You're talking about the Harveys and, you know.
Well, for us, apart from on the Donegal Rally, which probably none of us would ever thought we would ever win or ever be anywhere close to, the club championship was what it was about. Like, and it had, back then we had 3 navigation rallies, a hill climb, 2 single stage rallies, 2 one-day stage rallies, and international.
Wow,
So that's a full season's rallying, like really for
a lot of events
for your championship.
To run.
That's a lot of events to run, a lot of events to do, and you know, all the crack and great grounding for a co-driver and for a driver. You know, to be out at night and to read maps, to multitask, to keep time. You know, it's great training ground.
So the navigating side of things, was that the financial thing? Was that the easiest and quickest way to get into the sport?
That was the only way in, because you had no money. How are you going to get a car? Like, that was another.
Sure.
You know, I think we've over 100 rally cars in Donegal now, but back then we probably had 5.
Really?
You know, if you think Eamon Harvey would have been the local hero here, and you know, Eamon's car was his road car and his rally car. And Eamon was the fireman, and the fireman here. And when the siren would go off, like, Eamon would jump onto the Avenger, fire up the 45s, and you could hear it taking off and heading towards the.
Amazing.
And it was coming to church on a Sunday car, you know, and that's how I got to know Eamon, and obviously, you know, because I did a bit of navigating, and then the guy who looked after Eamon's car, a guy called Danny Caddy, had a wee garage in the Church Lane in Letterkenny, and where Eamon's car was built. And so that's where my first car was built, in the same place. Like, so, you know, all the connections, and then Danny was heavily involved in the organising side.
He was, yeah.
All that sort of thing for many a year.
Of course, and Aidan's still involved.
Aidan's still involved, and he had an old-fashioned question the night there too. So.
We'll get to plenty of questions, I'm sure, as we go through this. There'll be plenty of boys.
But you know, Aidan Caddy now, would be. It wasn't a good one, and it wasn't complimentary.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of people asking for questions about all the crashes and all that. That usually happens as well. Yeah. I was going to ask you about there. Yeah, so there's only 5 cars in Donegal then. It must have been.
There wouldn't be much more.
It's 510 anyway.
You had the Wards.
Robbie Ward, yeah.
Vincent Bonner, Derek McMahon, and Eamon Harvey, and then Cahill McKinney. Cahill had a great run in Donegal one year, just my early years, you know, which was great. But I think Cahill didn't do too many rallies, and that was sort of about it, really, like, you know.
So then, for the championship, the club championship, then a lot of people used to come into the county then to try and win it. Is that what
there had to be, you know, and then but on the navigation rallies, made up a lot of it, and you could do those in road cars, really.
Right. Okay.
You know, and not all the road cars actually belong to the people driving them. So.
Yeah, that'll be normal.
So you can work that one out yourself.
Yeah. I know all about that. It's brilliant. So this is you co-driving in 1978 in Clerk.
That's one when I forgot about that. I didn't forget about it, actually. It's a nice car. It's a guy called Dougie Hoare from Belfast.
Yeah.
How I ended up in there, I don't know, but it was in the early days of co-driving. And I did, and like to go and do the Cork 20 as as a young lad starting out, sure, it was great.
That car looks fairly standard though, yeah?
It wouldn't have been straight out of Sydney Meeks now, but it wasn't even a bad car. It went quick enough at times.
I remember Dougie in Group 2 Opel Cadets and things like that.
It was good. It's good steer, as they would say, like, you know. And
So
doing that, and then I did Circuit of Ireland with Andy Higgerty, with the local Ford dealer here. Andy started. And,
yeah, Higgerty's.
And I actually got to do the Circuit of Ireland, and Andy bought a lovely, you know, he started off in it was an Opel dealer, so it had to be, you never regret were great. We bought a cadet, as Andy will tell you, at the time, and it was basically a road car, set of wheels on it, a set of brake pads and all that. But then they bought a really nice car that won group, would have been Group 1. Group 1 in the RAC, a guy called Mike Rawson. That would have been a sister car of Little Magic.
Right, okay.
And beautiful car. And we ended up doing Donegal and that, the Circuit of Ireland. And, in those days, and to get a chance to do the Circuit of Ireland
is that the sister car then, the Colchester car they won every round?
That's the sister car, the Colchester car,
Little Magic one, yeah.
Little Magic one was a guy called Mike Rawson, and he actually, that's my memory of it, but it was cracker of a car.
Yeah.
If you had got, used to dream about getting your hands on it at the time, never mind sitting on. But
So the driving side of things, when did that start?
That started in '79. Done the co-driving, but obviously with different guys. And we thought, how can we find a way to go and go rallying ourselves? So. Long story short, we bought a shell, or not a shell, it was an old car Avenger that was down in McMahon's garage. And was kind of used it to skip. Everybody threw oil filters and bits and pieces. So we bought that, brought it up to Caddies and Danny and a guy called Paul Shields, and Jerry built that car from scratch. And lucky enough at the time, Robert Ward was getting a 2-litre engine for his Sunbeam. So we bought the engine and box out of that, and and Robin, it was in the day when obviously there were no parts available in Ireland, as still not ours so much, and we had a pad born to Robin Lyons every Saturday evening or Saturday night or Friday night for bits. Once we get a few pound gathered up, we're over getting bits here.
There'd been no carnies involved there.
And back in the day, it was like running the gauntlet. You had Gardaí, because there was a border and the times weren't great. You had customs, you had UDR men, you had British soldiers, you had but the customs were the problem. The rest of them we could handle, but the customs were our biggest worry. The things we had to get up to, and then they got very busy. We had to come different roads and get boys in front of us and all that to run like a Smokey and the Bandit job to get the stuff out. But that's what you did back then,
Of course you did, yeah.
It was steady. We'd bring out parts for Raymond, bring out parts for somebody else, But that's like Johnny Cash said, one piece at a time. We got it there, and
that's it.
We debuted the car in a navigation rally in Donegal town, myself and Rory, in 1978.
78, okay.
78, and then our first stage rally was 79.
Right.
We had it for Mayo stages.
Oh yeah.
As it's known now, Ballina, we called it then,
Downhill
and the
hotel,
rally just started out of the car park in the Downhill Hotel, turn left, first stage.
There you go.
At the gate, and it was a brilliant rally. So Eamon won it. We ended up second. So the bug had bitten at that stage, but there are a couple of places that I was just remembering. We obviously had our fan club down. All the boys would was down and help work at the car and look after it and take it down and all that. So they all went out to watch the stage, and first time round we could see them at the junction, and we were doing our best, we're not so bad. So myself and Roy did a chat, we're back the second time round, right? We remember this junction is, and we're putting on a show in here.
Showboat.
Down, and we last the late breakers and missed the breaking point, whole thing, and handbrake back ways down across this there's a big area of grass at about 20 metres long, and then sally bushes, and it would bounce away and they all bounced us back out on the road again. And the funny bit was the boys buggered off to another junction. It was all for nothing.
They weren't even there.
Well, we're even there, so some supporters.
I tell you,
service or something like that. So, we were in the bushes, but anyway, we got out and managed to, and it was a very unusual experience where we were seated away, God knows, somewhere near the back. I can't remember, and we didn't know a lot about rallying, and there was no Pattersons or there was no times, and then we just came into service and came in, and we were on the way to try to find somebody who could compare the times to stuff like that. So eventually, after a service or two, we found out we were right up near the top of it. So so then obviously to do the Donegal International Rally, and for anybody that is a rally person,
who lives in Letterkenny.
I live, particularly in Letterkenny, even if you live anywhere, I don't think, if you live in Ireland, it's one of the rallies you want to do, but particularly coming from here, to actually go and do the thing, like it was a huge event. That's the yoke there on the famous steel wheels.
All right.
And we only graduated onto the alloy. We had one set of alloy wheels, I think, so we must have saved them for one of the other days.
Are they Weller wheels? Are they Wellers? No?
Yeah, and we got them up and went to Motor Tune in Bangor for them.
Yeah, you would. Yeah.
And that's where you had to go for those. That's where they came from. And I think Dunlop tires. And I remember on the Saturday of the rally, we were using Eamon second-hand tires. Now Eamon would be knew how to stretch a budget. So we were using Eamon's stuff. We were taking them off, and we were actually re-grooving them. So you could actually see the bead, you know, the cloth or the.
That's amazing. The
bead when you put it down, the canvas bead on the tire, and they would go back on. You know, we got a few of them, but the rally was big then, Trevor. Like it was it 40 stages or something like that. We did totally the first day of the rally was the Fannet Loop. That was Friday. Yeah. You know, and once I remember coming up through Fannet Head and all that, like, and thought it doesn't get any better than this, like, and we never go any further. All right. You know, this is great.
I think the first time I went was 77, something like that. You know, and it was Cullen the Stratus that year. I think it was 77 anyway. Yeah, just huge compared to.
No, that was just the Friday run. And Saturday we headed over Donegal Town, I think, and round by Port New, Killybegs, and back again, and then back round that same loop again. That was the Saturday. Sunday, I can't remember. Cashlegore, all that West Donegal, you know, Chrysler, Falcara, all those difficult demanding stages down there.
So how did you get on the Avenger then?
First year was the first year was the best year, like, and it was like a dream come true. We won the class. Yeah. And I think we finished 12th or something like that. Like even like I remember a wee story. The guys from Ramelton, he was the stage leader up on the first stage outside Kilross, up near Balbuffet was the first stage on Saturday morning. So when we come out of Park Ferma, we headed up the road, and then, not mention the guy's name, but he stopped us at the start of the stage and said, "Where are you boys going? Why just get out of Park Ferma? You shouldn't be here."
Right.
You shouldn't be here. 112 on the door, like, and we were going on behind James McDade and Trevor Cathers and them boys, like, Jesus boys, you shouldn't be here. Do you not get the time control or something?
That's amazing, isn't it?
So, you know, but that no, it was boys' own stuff, wasn't it? Like Roy the Rover stuff, like, to do that, like, and to manage to actually do the rally. But not everybody thought I remember we were there looking at the results on a Friday night, like, and there were about 20 deep at the results board when they go up on the board, and everybody pushing in to get in, and we was pushing Rory in to see where we were. And the guy who would normally was leading the class or would won the class was there and got a bit of a shock when he wasn't leading the class. So and we were standing beside this guy now, so he didn't know who we were, like, you know. And it was just like, it was one of the, like, we may have said it ourselves a few times since, like, it's like it's just a local hero, like, it'll end up on a ball tomorrow, like, so like, sort of thing. You know?
Was that my namesake? Was that David Agnews doing that?
I don't know. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
So we were all delighted. Like, we didn't know how hard to go. We just went out and went as hard as we could go, and that was it. Now Saturday was a bit different, and then Sunday we got loads of tellings off about not throwing it away, like, and finishing the rally and
of course,
doing all this sort of thing, like, you know. So
yeah. But it's big pressure as well, you know. You think of your first rally and that sort of performance, you still got to get around.
No, there's no sense then, Trevor. So we got out handbraking around places and going backwards. And if we saw a crowd, if we thought we knew somebody, it was a big chuck, like, and a handbrake and a big slide and a big wave out, like, and then.
But isn't it great?
It's all one very sensible on the bad bits now, but, you know, that's.
But that's the bit a lot of people forget, isn't it? You know, you start to get more serious about the sport and you forget about the fun element sometimes. And we'll talk about that as we go through the night, I'm sure, no doubt. So it's the usual thing when you do something like that, then you want something better or you want to improve it. And then the money has to come.
The money has to come then, but we got the wake-up call the next year. Like, we only did 4 stages in the Blue Engine. So
A proper bang. That was
so
killed it.
welcome to the world of rally. You know, I don't think we would have done. I think we might have done another rally in between. Of course, we all gathered up then. So the international was the big one, like, and so all the pounds were put together and everything, and then it lasted 4 stages, I think. So
yeah,
that was the other side of the coin.
And then into 81.
81 was the Sunbeam, wasn't it?
It was, yeah.
Aye.
Proper cars. This is John Joe Boyce's car, was it originally?
That was a cracker of a car. It was John Joe Boyce's car, and it was built down in McMahon's, and John Joe did the Manx and all in that car.
Yeah.
It's a lovely wee car now, and unfortunately, it's I think it blew the engine for some reason or other. Now, it's just unfortunate. And then we rebuilt it into a lightweight modified. That was been a Group A. I think it was a TI or some of the time. It was a wee bit expensive because it had to be all by the rules, and the tailgates would keep breaking and smashing, and there were stupid money and stuff like that. So Pat Dunyan did a job on it actually, and made it lightweight and stripped everything off it, and but that didn't work out that well. It was a quick car, like, but we were rallying up beside Bal Buffet, and it was actually Rebus had on it, and that's a long time ago.
Wow.
It's been about 81. But anyway, we tossed the thing in the first or second stage. I can't remember now. Not too bad, like, but enough that we're out of the rally and stuff like that. So, so that was the first accident.
I remember that's when I first probably met you and heard about you, because Rory was Rory in with you the odd time then as well.
We started together, and we did Ballina and Donegal and a number of rallies, and we did all the navigation rallies and stuff like that, you know. And then I wouldn't have been doing, you know, after it blew up the second year. I don't think I wasn't doing a lot of rally, and then obviously Rory got all their offers, like, and moved on, like, so.
But I remember
it was either Rory did a good few rallies actually.
It was either the Hills or the Harvest Rally. We went up. I would have been with Paul Muldrew, maybe co-driving him sometimes in a Mark II Escort 1600 car as well. But you know, then Harold Thompson, people like that, we used to race against. Sunbeams, you know. So, about the same sort of time as in. So that was 81.
Harold turned out some beautiful cars, didn't he?
Oh, didn't you ever? Yeah.
Harold Thompson turned out a beautiful eye.
Yeah, and I saw him again at
GSFP 777.
I saw him at Deja Vu.
Yeah.
So Donegal Deja Vu, I had a good chat with him at the side of the road, and we were a fan of it. Yeah.
That's the last time I was actually speaking to you, and for face to face. But anyway, you mentioned Harold there. Now it's nearly embarrassing. But we were at the table together, Jim Cullen and Patrick Brides, a whole team of us, and this guy sitting across from me. Someone familiar about him, you know, and you know the way you know people, but and I would be very bad with names anyway, and I got worse since I had when I had that stroke thing about 10 years ago. Like, my memory's got worse since that. But anyway, that's beside. Just went on a good while anyway. Somebody says, "That's Harold Thompson." I says, "That's not Harold Thompson. He shaved the beard, you see."
Yeah, of course.
And
that's why
I didn't know him, and there was something about the voice. And he laughed at me, and he said, "I thought there was something wrong with you. You said you weren't speaking to me. I did something on you." And, you know, but I wouldn't have seen him for lots and lots of years, like, but that was the beauty of the Deja Vu, like, so, you know, we were great old buddies and great crack, but both of us ran Sunbeams at the time, like,
and Sean Hannigan was knocking about as well at some point. I've seen Sean, I'm sure, on the event.
And there was another lad there, cousin of mine in Australia was on. She met some Hannigan boy from Donegal and knew about rallying out wherever she is, somewhere up, she's up in the boonies and about some mining place about Australia or something. And didn't know him, you know, so it's a small world, like, isn't it?
It is, yeah. Friendships for life as well, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So that was the Sunbeam era then, and then the Clerk, of course, role popped up in 83, that would have been. Did you 2 years, 82?
No, 82 and 83, yeah.
82 and 83, yeah.
82 and 83, yeah, and that was...
it's a proper machine you were in here.
I was a proper machine there, courtesy of who? Oh, I can't think now. It was a self-driving, I can be sure of that.
And the droop snoot behind it there.
And the droop snoot behind it, I don't know now. I was swapped for the droop snoot, but...
maybe Plum floated about in one of those for a while, didn't he?
But there was some crack, because that year we ran well, we ran the stage in Bundoran. We ran Letterkenny as the town stage on the Saturday.
Incredible, isn't it?
And I was, of course, being COC, you had to go through it, like, and so every junction was, there were that part of the driver and the COC maybe weren't always compatible. So the bit of showman was still in you. So you would handbrake it everywhere, like, and it was amazing, and was still would be fairly proud of the fact that we did, that we got the town stage up and running here, like, and
it was fantastic. Wasn't it? The crowds in Letterkenny. It was bad enough in Remelton, but in Letterkenny it was just
Letterkenny was crazy, and then the last stage of the rally was on what it did in Letterkenny. I thought this would be a very good crack, like, because I was trying to run a rally for competitors that you would enjoy being a competitor. So I said, you do the town stage and then it stops, so why not come back and just do it again? So we sent everybody around, and as you filtered in, like the first 20 would have been around, but car number 1 was slotting again about 22 or 23.
Yeah.
So everybody got a second run on it.
I know. And the thing is, it used to run 30-second intervals, so I don't know how we worked that. Was that still 30 seconds start on minutes?
Yeah, no, it was 30 seconds.
Yeah.
But but that's what makes rallies work, with fantastic timekeepers, fantastic people. Like, there's a guy who's COC, but it's everybody else runs the rally.
Yeah.
And the quality of your rally depends on the quality of your people. Like, and they did all that, and it was no problem. It's just a breeze.
I remember at the start of it, I can't remember what year it was, but Phil Collins was over in the Manta, in the Shell Manta, and he'd shell overalls, the lovely red and black and yellow shell overalls. So I was trying to convince him to give me a pair of those, not sell me them, but give me a pair of those. I'd met Phil a couple of years before, but it's just funny how sometimes you just visualize where you were and sat waiting to start that stage, having a bit of crack with him. But
talking to Phil, he blames me for I've cost him, he said, thousands and thousands down the years, because I was the first person brought him to Donegal.
Were you really?
And then he crashed the first year, so he kept coming back about 20 times then to do it, like, he fell in love with the place. Obviously, like, and then that particular year as well, we ran Bundoran as the last stage of the rally through the town of Bundoran. We'd ran Remelton, Letterkenny, and Bundoran.
When did you take the rally to Bundoran?
That was
a wake-up call for Letterkenny, wasn't it?
It was a wake-up call for everyone, like, and that's how I end up. I didn't really, I'd been involved in the club. I think I did everything in the club, from marshal to timekeeping to deputy COC for navigation rallies, for everything. And but I didn't really want a job at COC, but the rally, something happened, I can't remember. But they came an offer in for Bundoran with fairly major sponsorship at the time, and this was the end of February. And there was going to be no Donegal Rally, and the talk was about running a national one-day rally just to get the thing over and done with. And so James put up his hand to take it on. Which, if it's to do it again, I wouldn't do it. But anyway,
you'd probably do it later. In fairness, maybe.
Would do it maybe now.
Yeah.
Because you're a lot more experienced now and all that sort of thing. But anyway, we volunteered. We got a great crew together, and we went to Bundoran in March, and we had the rally up and going. And
but you would have learned a hell of a lot from that side of things. That would have stood you in good stead as a competitor later on in years, surely.
Yes and no. You learn an awful lot about how rallies works, and you learn to appreciate what it takes to put a rally on.
You learn a bit about politics.
You learn a lot about politics. You learn a lot about people, about who they are, who to trust, when to open your mouth and when particularly not to open it, and all those sort of things, and all the small-minded stuff that goes on behind. But then
it's just any committee. Once you start a committee, there's always going to be those things.
But the other side of that, it opened up the enthusiasm that people have to run rallies. Yeah. And these are people who do all this voluntary, and that is their thing. And I've met some great people. And from that day to this, I have lifelong friends who come out of that. As well as, you have your friends who are competitors and all the things you meet in life, but there were so many really, really good people. That's why rallies are good here. That's why rallies are good everywhere. It's down to the hundreds of people that come to make it all happen.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And then to top it all off, that year, my son Declan was born in Letterkenny. as
Oh
the town
yeah, you
sta-
just missed that, didn't you?
as the town stage was starting in
I know.
Bundoran. So, and then all
Yeah.
the hassle that night about prize giving or results or something like that, and
Yeah.
was in the bad books for a long time after that night. So,
I can
but
imagine.
that's that's the commitment you give to running an event, and that's the commitment that the people who run events give to it. It takes over their life to a point, and all credit to them. Only for those, like, we wouldn't be talking about the things, and we wouldn't have the good days that we've had down through the sport without somebody else making it happen.
Just all of that. Right, let's see who else is here now. A legend of rally and motorsport, James, a good friend and gentleman. Looking forward to the show from Charlie McGinley. John Ors and Armagh. Liam Duffy's looking forward to it. John Black's there. Who else have we got? Rodney Preston looking forward to it. And Nolan Kelly, great memories, of course. Top men on tonight, Kieran. Well, we'll see. So Fergal O'Rourke saying, even folks, fantastic driver. Loved the days of the Cosworths. Remember watching James soaked to the skin. 93 Cork 20. I recall that he won. Loved the Escort Cosworth. Yorkie Escort was definitely a beautiful car, and we'll come back to that one later on. Keep up the show. Good show. Thanks, Sean. The ultimate gentleman of Irish rally, and you are the ultimate gentleman. You're right. So, Brian Byrne, great to see James on tonight. What a driver he was. I remember him passing my house on the Okavana stage in the 97 Circuit Island, the Yorkie Escort, battling with Austin, Liam, and Bertie. What a rally that was. That was a good rally. I enjoyed that one as well, the Neil and the Civic. Mr. Fury's in the house.
Mr.
Good
Fury's
to see
in the
him.
house.
And all the Furies, no doubt, will be here. Sean McClorston, good memories of James Clerk, of course, in the Sierra, putting on a show in Bundoran. There you go. You were talking about that earlier. Paddy Caffrey, a legend and a gentleman, and just a bit of tagging going on there. James, absolute legend. What does this make you feel? Like all these guys telling you that you are an absolute legend, not just in Donegal, but throughout the whole of Ireland.
You think of somebody else they're talking about. I'm just reading the things coming up there. Say, oh, that's very good. That's very good.
Yeah.
You kind of sort of feel that way, don't you? That maybe it's somebody else like it, but it's it's Asher's great feeling to be appreciated, and we've had it down the years, like both of us, meeting people who go to follow the sport, the same as we had our heroes, and we went to watch guys, and that's what got us into the sport, was the buzz we got out of watching people driving cars on the limit.
Yeah.
And sometimes over it.
Yeah, and one of the legendary cars that we all love was Mark II Escort. And you got a proper Mark II Escort then, didn't you? 84.
That was some car. Definitely was that. That
This
was
is Vincent
that car
Bonner's
actually
car.
won the rally the year before that.
Vincent Bonner's car, yeah.
The year we brought the rally back to Donegal, I was COC, and Vincent and Seamus Mac won the rally, like in the first Donegal winners, and like that was fairy tale stuff. Like
that was huge.
To be standing on the ramp, like you'd ran the rally, and the relief, the whole thing was over, and then someone you knew won the rally as well. Like at Donegal, the buzz about the place was just unbelievable. Like you had to be there at the time, I think, to maybe appreciate it, because you can't. There only is ever one first, the first person to do something, and no, that was so. Vincent was selling the car, and we managed to find the money to buy it somewhere or other. That was long and complicated, and probably best left in archives, where there's a lot of people involved in that car maybe didn't know they were involved in that car.
Yeah, of course.
But we got the job done, and we got the car, but just before Donegal, as it turned out. So,
but there was a story with that car. Yeah. There's a story of that car when you had to collect it.
I went to collect the car, and decided to drive it. I drove it home. It was just to get a run on the car as well. Yeah. And it was cheaper. Somebody took me up rather than getting vans and all that sort of stuff. Anyway.
Yeah.
Nearly in Letterkenny, and the oil light came on. And oh Jesus!
That's instant.
Oil light come on. That was it. Like, and we had every red cent we could borrow, steal, anything. Everything was in this car. Like, what 2 weeks before the rally, maybe, or something like that. Anyway, long story short, rang Vincent, and a gentleman, and huge respect for him. He says, leave that with me. I'll lift the car. I'll get it sorted. And I started thinking, well, people say these things, like, but this is a problem. Anyway, got the problem sorted out. It turned out Vincent had a problem with the car as well. And when it would do about a day's rallying, it would, the oil light, the oil pressure would drop in it and go. So it was where the pipes go back into the dry sump in it.
Yeah.
The
proper Group 4 Escort,
proper
dry
Group
sump on the
4
back,
Escort.
the tank
And
sat
say
in the boot
that
of
where
it.
the pipe is, one of the wee steel surrounds or the wee casing it was in, it split. And as it heated up, the tube started to swell with the heat and closed down the oil supply to the engine. And that's what it was. That's why it would go for so long. And they'd take it back. They could never find out what was wrong with it. So eventually Mass sorted it out, and they put the engine into a car, and they did the Manx Rally, the Manx National, and never missed a beat. So whole new dry sump system in the car, the engine went back to Mass. So I ended up with a fully rebuilt engine, new dry sump system, and the whole lot, and headed for Brina. We just got the car before the rally.
And that was in 84.
Oh, 84, I had a whole panicking out the road for the guys took the helmets out of the car in Park Ferma to do something with them. So we got out of the car, we're heading out the road, and around, no helmets. Where's the helmets? What are we going to do? So how are we going to bluff this, like, or what's going to happen? So there's a guy in town here called James Kelly, had a wee accessory shop. So we said, we head up the street and we get 2 helmets of James Kelly. And sure, nobody's going to pay any attention what they are once we get to the stage. But anyway, up and service was along the road into the town at that stage. So when we pulled in here, we're here, the two boys sitting with the helmets, like. But you talk about after all we'd gone through, we got to the start of the event, and imagine going, how stupid would you be going to the first stage and no helmets, like.
But it must have been some excitement doing Donegal in a proper Group 4 Escort, the car that had won it the year before.
Just to drive it, Trevor, at that stage, like, I mean, that was some difference between that and a 1600 Avenger.
Oh, yeah.
It was like, and it was a one-in car, and it was GVX, like a proper plate, and which we had to give away because at that time you could customs have been very active in our part of the world.
Yeah,
you couldn't import a car at that particular time.
Yeah, I remember this.
So we had to get it bonded, and it was a whole big thing. So Tony Kelly, good friend of mine and sponsor, Tony got a set of plates from an RS2000 TSAP 416. So that's where that plate came from, of an RS2000. So we got that on the car. And then we gave GVX to Hugh O'Brien because he was running in front of us in the rally. So if the customs came and they were looking for GVX, that was GVX there. This was a car we built there this last couple of weeks for sale, sort of thing. So
brilliant, yeah.
And that worked out we got away. It worked anyway. And then sometime after that, you could actually pay the duty. The thing came in, like the thing saw sense, and you could actually, so we went away and got a set of plates of a breaker's yard in Derry, UI something, and got those on her, and that left it old enough to come in fairly reasonable duty, and and that's how we did that. That became then 416 LP. Okay. So that's for all those, guys who had a great time about these plates and stuff like that.
I know. Plenty of guys with loads of memories.
And there's a guy now who I think supposed to have that car, but I mean that's where the plates went, and the TSLP is actually GVX, but anyway, it's
hard to keep up.
How
did you do in this rally then, 84 Donegal?
I think we finished 6th, did we?
I don't remember. I couldn't find it.
Aye. Like we did the rally blind. Well, we did the recce, but we had no notes. So, but it was just that was the way we had to do it at the time. So but there was some buzz, and we actually got doing Letterkenny with about 80,000. The guards estimated there were 80,000 people in Letterkenny that year, and myself and Cal McGilligan, both of us from the town, to come up through the streets and across just below where he lived
Yeah,
and the last stage in the BDA, like that's one of your best memories. Like, it doesn't matter,
of
it
course
doesn't
it
get
is.
much
Yeah.
better than that.
And apart from maybe the Impreza, that's got to be the car that you look back on. I would have thought the one car you enjoyed
That
the most,
was
probably.
that was I think that was most people's introduction to rallying. That's where they got the buzz. Like, even to this day,
Yeah,
people still talk about Mark IIs.
yeah.
And
Well,
that's what it's based on. Like, and
mhm.
some fantastic memories attached to that car. Like, and John Boyle looked after the car time, God rest him, and he had a garage out in Manor. And the things you could do now then that you can't do now, but we used to go out nights and just go and would meet up there and have a chat about rallying or in the garage. And then there was another friend of ours who had a great saying. He says, "Go and wake in the BDAs," he used to call it. Start it up. So we used to start it up and give it a rev it up in the workshop for a wee while.
It's
Just, but like, we were all rally fans. We were all rally guys at the end of the day, just to
yeah.
just to hear it going,
Just to
like,
hear, yeah, of course.
And then before a rally every night, like, this is the village of Manor Cunningham, and the garage is in the middle of it.
Yes.
But John lived up. There's a wee loop about half a mile round, and John's brother lived in one part of it, and John himself lived in the other. So before that was once it was ready to go, before it went on the trailer out, everybody would hear starting, and there used to come about 100 people out of the houses and up through the village and right down back in again.
There's just no noise like it,
Oh no, you'd be arrested now, like, shouldn't you?
I know. It's funny. Frank Kelly was on last week, and that afternoon, so last Sunday afternoon, him and Rosemary took the car out to go for an ice cream to Fergus McAnallen's in Binburp. Just to get it out and have a bit of a spin on it. Yes.
And we did our first foreign rally in that car.
Oh, Dieppe.
We went to New Donegal Rally in Dieppe, as George used to say. So we're all in the famous Milford Inn one night, and so thing in Motor News, this word was about, they give you a free ferry, and they did this and that and other. So we'd all said, okay, this would be something to do. So the Boyle George, being the Boyle George, says, right, everybody put in X amount of money and we'll go. So the whole lot went to the credit union, borrowed the money, fired it into the pot, and we set sail for France. Tony Kelly's high ace van.
So that would have been
A
driving
trailer
across.
from John Boy.
That would have driving across right down to England, to Newhaven, then.
Right down to Newhaven.
Near enough Brighton, yeah.
And into Dieppe into the rally. And I remember John Boyle we called it a trailer, but it was actually, if you remember, a mobile home, like a smaller version of a caravan.
Yeah.
It was the bed of that, but the caravan removed. No mud guards, no lights, 2 ramps up the middle of it, and that was it. And we set sail for France. And we headed up, and my brother Joe was over. And he had a new Alfa Romeo at the time, but Tony Kelly was selling Alfa Romeos, and that actually made it France and back and never broke down, which was amazing for an Alfa Romeo at the time. But we headed up, and there's a petrol station outside Newton Stewart, and there's a quarry on the left-hand side.
Okay.
So the Boyle John goes in, and we had all the jerry cans, so we got the stuff full of red diesel or whatever it was, about the third of the price or something. So we filled, and that took the highest to France down through England and the whole thing. And I know it's a funny story at that time. George had moved to Galway, was living in Galway and working with I think a computer company, or I can't remember exactly now. And the day before we were to leave, he was made redundant. So
great.
But Sir George,
there's no pulling out.
So he arrived over anyway. So, and as you know, he plays a bit of guitar and does a bit of singing and stuff. So we're all out. They were out busking in the streets of Dieppe, like
the House of the Rising Sun.
The House of the Rising Sun. There was a big restaurant in the middle of the town where we went to eat every night. So we got to know everybody after a bit, and with a few other sing songs and stuff like that. So, and as you would know, George's party piece was the House of the Rising Sun. So in the middle of the street in Dieppe at 12 o'clock at night, the encore was, we had the French and the Germans and the English and Horse Boys and all. House of the Rising Suns to the rafters to the.
One of my favourite stories from that rally was the welcome. Was it the welcome party that you went to? Free bar.
It was the prize giving party.
It's a prize giving party.
Giving party. They had they were looking for European Championship status, and they had a wee FIA steward over.
Right.
And
An observer of some sort, yeah.
Observer or someone, so they got him completely and totally locked. He didn't even know where he was, like, so he had no bother signing off, like, you know, but
Uh-huh.
but I remember our French wouldn't be great, like, but I remember John would have took a jar or two, and the wee optics that they had in the day when you pushed the wee glass up for the for the wee vodka or the whiskey.
All right.
And John had the wee barman. He says, "Aye, sir, double clutch, double clutch,
Double clutch.
double clutch."
I love that story. It's
And
great.
it was a free bar. We got flour. We were up myself, and funny enough, Seamus Gormley was to go with me. Seamus got sick the night or two before it, so we had no co-driver. Somehow or other, my brother Joe had a license because he was going to do a rally. He had never done a rally before, so he actually sat in the car in Dieppe for the rally, and then, like, it was just as a family thing. It was a great out thing, like, you know.
It was only 2 or 3 venues, though, wasn't it?
It was to see as to go to a foreign rally. We had a great setup. We did like a hill climb to start on the first day about after lunchtime.
It was a seeding
all in
stage,
the morning.
effectively.
It was a seeding stage about a mile and a half, 2 mile long. You come back down. You did that twice. 2-hour break, excuse me. And then you headed out, and there was one stage done 7 times, 4 in daylight and 3 in the dark. And Sunday then was one stage done 8 times. So, like, it was, you know, if you were a newcomer, sure, once you got a few runs over, it was a great wee format, like, you know.
Brilliant. Excellent. That's and a lot of prize money probably in the back of that one.
As I say, we were sort of embarrassed. We were never in that position before, and you would come up on the stage, and they'd all come up and they give you flowers. You know, the French thing, they all gave you flowers and hugged and kissed you and all that sort. And then but they were the check in as well, like, and we're getting checks for francs for this and for that. And we ended up fourth. Yeah, we ended up fourth.
Okay.
And it was. You know, you can we could understand then where Frank Kelly comes from. Like, after so many runs, like, you got to know it. But there are a lot of very quick cars, a lot of Renaults and Porsches, and the guys were coming down. But breaking and turning in and doing this, and of course we were coming down
backwards.
Every road we get. So when you stop at the end of the stage, like, and open the door for the time, the guys would all come in and would start clapping in the back and hugging you, and long days, because we were the showcase, like, you know.
Yeah.
We were the Frank Kelly of the day.
But this is it. We could talk for another hour and a half about the stories of that one rally. You know, that's only the highlights that we can tell. But then you went later on to the Rally of the Lakes. There's a story here. There's a story here.
What's happened that year?
Was this
we weren't doing so bad. Oh no, this was actually a road accident, or going into the village of Rathmore. The service area was in the village, or both sides of the village of Rathmore. So we were come sailing down into service, like, no carry on or nothing like that, like, or no. And this wee woman just come straight out of the crossroads, just straight out in front of us. So we just had her. Side on, like, and whole drama, and away guards down, got the whole thing sorted out. But she drove the radiator on as well in the front of the car. So remember the famous John Boyle up again with a big sledgehammer, up on top of it, standing up 2 feet on top of the front panel. And you know the builder's backside?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm going with a sledgehammer, knocking the thing out, like, and somehow or other we got a land of a radiator, or maybe we had a radiator, but we wouldn't have many spares. Got the radiator into her, got the car going, and finished the rally.
Finished third as well.
Finished third, I think we did. Yeah.
That's when you had Billy Coleman and McHale in the Mantas.
Billy was first and second, then we were third, like, you know. But that was another one of those strange events. I went down and did the recce myself.
Right.
Because the guy who was sitting was helping out with the financial side of it as well, but didn't read pace notes. So I just went down and had a tour around, and it was like a serious amount of stages and way more. And just even to find out where it was going, like, so I went down and did the recce, and the boy Seamus, he came down then, and Turned up just for the real. It was just arrive and drive. He just turned up, and I knew where it was going and all the rest. So
That's the way to go.
that was the day. Now that was a bit, silly in many ways, but that's the, that's where we were at the time. Like,
I wish I could have learned that trick. So that they're like a Paul Lietter was over the Belgian guy who's really.
It was.
quick.
That's right. Yeah.
He did that on Sunday.
Seamus Burke actually was on the rally as well.
Aye, and
I remember seeing him. I remember seeing him come at his times, or he's coming up there and back doing a few rallies in America again.
Yes, yeah.
And he's no spring chicken either now. So
no,
he's good. It's great to see somebody like that doing it, because it means maybe.
I think
you might think about it again.
Didn't Seamus have a Sydney Mid car for a while? Group 1.
He could have had now. A really
80,
nice
81, I think. The Golden Jubilee.
Really nice Escort that year, because we had a bit of a. We had a bit of a race with Seamus, I think, for third or something eventually, and Paul Latier was over us right in the Sunbeam.
And then Sligo. This is a different Sligo to what we know, because this is 2-day rally, £1,000 or 1,000. It would have been £1,000 back then, wouldn't it?
£1,000 two-day rallies for one of the rallies. So two sides to that. We actually, Tony Kelly actually sat with me, who would have been a long term sponsor, and Tony started his own business probably about 81 or 82 or something like that, and came on board and obviously sponsored me in nearly every car I drove. That up to 2,000 Tony Kelly cars in the front windscreen.
Quite an incredible
Tony actually did
over the years.
Tony actually did the rally, and a guy who was also involved was a guy called Martin Riley.
Yeah, Martin.
If you know Martin, and Martin.
Oh, of course, John Lyons and Martin.
And an unbelievable, a fantastic character, light up any place like, and Martin actually co-drove for me in Cork one year in Avenger.
I didn't know that.
So I don't know how it came. Obviously, came about through Tony, or I don't know how it came about anyway. But the two boys headed off to Cork one year in Avenger, like when the rallying was blind, and I mean blind, like So, but anyway, we'll go back to Sligo. Tony, we did Lurgan Park, and that was one of the downsides of that fast bit out where the golf course is.
Yeah.
Well, we got it wrong out there, and we ended up on the golf course.
Yes.
2 weeks before Sligo.
I remember.
And it shows you the type of people that are about. Like Tony says, don't you worry, we'll be going to Sligo. We'll get this sorted. You leave it with me. So himself and the boys fell to the car, and I had the car to go to Sligo, and Tony obviously sat with me. And Rory, Rory was team manager.
Was he?
Checking times and making sure it was done. He was going from stage to stage and making sure everything was in order.
No better man.
No better man. It was a 2-day event. And
it was, it's a big rally.
Was
it Ricola was over that year in the
Skona. And Ian Calvin's a Skona, was it? Or something like that,
I think it was, yeah.
Frank was there on his Escort, Frank Maher. And I think Pat Dunyan and the Sunbeam, the ex-John Coyne car was third. So it was proper rally.
Yeah.
So the €1,000 or pounds or punts, whatever it was, then went to
the... come in handy, yeah.
Oh, it was great.
And then you went to Cork?
Went to Cork that year, the same thing with me and Seamus as well. So one of those, wasn't it that year? Myself and Rory did Cork in that car.
I think that was 85.
I think that was that year.
That was 85, yeah.
It was the first rally that I went to in that car with pace notes.
Right.
And Rory, so we were down for, we were all geared up, and once Rory got over the embarrassment having to go down in the Panda van to do the recce, everything went. That was our chase car as well, by the way. So we were able to get like 6 tires and a jack and a jerry can and everything. And that's what I used for work at the time for the painting, was this wee Panda.
Painter and decorator, James Cullen.
I hitched 55 or something it was at the time, and actually won a navigation rally in it, would you believe, one night in the fog in Donegal, that car. Cool. And that van or car, whatever it was. But anyway, off we went. We sent the gearbox to somebody to get done that year, and we wouldn't really, we put a lot of effort into the whole thing with the gearbox rebuilt. Down first stage, pace notes, everything great. Gearbox lost 3 gears.
Right.
Eventually got it nursed into service. Got a Lenova box to somebody, as you did then. Like, people were outstanding. Got the box and headed back out into the next stage and down the next stage and bust a beer pipe. Throw it off the stage in the handbrake. So all that sorted out. I don't know. We lost the ball of time, but then with a great oil cut from there on, and we end up sixth or something like that. Like, or I can't remember, but a good oil. You know, that was the year of the famous Coleman McHale last stage drama about starting a minute behind instead of 30 seconds and not taking times and all that sort of stuff. So Austin won the rally and Billy was second. Like, but that was I sort of remember that. It was a great car. Then we ended up having to sell it. So for the Nissan thing.
Somebody was asking about the Nissan thing. Where was that? Was asking about Nissans. I think it was Column. Yeah. James, what are your memories of the Nissan 240S? RS?
Big and awkward.
Big and awkward. Steering box is the first thing that come to mind.
Steering box. Oh, Jesus. On gravel wasn't so bad. See, in tarmac, you thought the steering wheel was going to jump out of your hands. But anyway, no, but it was a fantastic opportunity. That came about through, really through Fred Keane at the time.
Yeah.
And he was involved with Davy Evans, who tragically lost his life at the time. But I won a Shell Award or something for a drive in Killarney. Long story short, anyway, Fred put up a car for me to do the Manx. And Roy Kieran came and sat on. And I had to use Derek Boyd's notes for Roy had them for the Isle of Man and all that sort of thing, and didn't make a lot of sense to me at times now. Like, but anyway, we did the rally and we're well inside the top 10. But anyway, the engine expired and one stage to go, penultimate stage. So, long story short, I was offered to drive the car in the national championship the following year. So that's how the Nissan thing came about.
English National Championship, yeah.
British National Championship. Was,
gravel, mostly gravel.
But I was major championship then. Marlborough were
huge.
Sponsoring it. TFS were involved. And it was the year of the metros. So there was 14 metros.
That was 86, I know.
Llewellyn did a few rounds, was testing on a few rounds, and Andrew Woods, Wally Rutherford, Peter Sutherland. There was some. And then the Sierra Challenge was that year as well.
That's the car, yeah.
Kenny and Phil Collins and Dougie Watson Clark, all those guys all did it. Yeah, Chris Mellors, all those. So that's how we ended up over there. Myself and was left-hand drive, and then Roy fair played and got me a wee orange Volkswagen, orange coloured like for Donegal, pure tangerine orange, wee left-hand drive thing to have a go on it, and actually did an navigation rally in it too up here, so that's and I did that for the left-hand drive. But I had a health problem at that time, and I had lumps removed, had breast removed, glands, all that sort of thing, and in December, just before, then I was off to drive, so I headed to the first round of the national championship, was down in Clondonno. The Great Arm was the first. Great Arm was the first stage. That one that they used in Rally GB there.
Yeah.
For the one round, isn't the Great Arm, isn't it?
It is. Yeah.
Aye.
Round the head.
But anyway, that was my memories of that. But I was all strapped up from the operation for quite a bit of surgery done, and I couldn't say to anybody in case they say, no, you're not going to be fit enough. You're not going to be able to drive this car. Like, I had told no one, and so landed into the first stage and down, like, Jesus, like there was no surrender, there was no prisoners been taken for about the first mile or so, like just you're like a clean stone mad, and it's but they got a bit of cop on here for this is only going to end one way, and then it started to snow.
Right.
Or it was snowing actually. It was so we just did the full attack in the snow for a bit, and then we started to steady the ship up a bit, but did a couple of stages on it, but anyway the wound started to open up and started to seep a bit and all this. But anyway, long story short, we slid off into a bit of a junction off Camber Junction, but all the four-wheel drive cars had been down, but when we came in with the other car, we just slid down and didn't have enough momentum to take it out. End of story. But the time the second event came, everything was stitched up and healed up again, so we were away.
It's amazing what you do, isn't it, just for the sport?
But to be honest,
such a big opportunity, it's
huge opportunity, and that's why, as I say, that's where the sold the Escort to Kenny. Kenny bought the Escort. I think it ended up with Eugene Donnelly had, no, I think Eugene drove it or he bought it of Kenny. But anyway, that's part of the deal was I had to come up with X amount of money to do the championship, which was been about
Aye.
maybe a fifth of the budget, something
Right.
like that. Like, you know, so it was no brainer. Like, so,
Mm-hmm.
but unfortunately, the Escort had to be sold to do that. So,
Yeah.
and off we went.
Did Charlie Donnelly drive it for a while? Maybe?
It was Charlie. Charlie drove it, and Eugene actually sat on.
That's it. Yeah.
I knew it wasn't you. I couldn't think of because you
It was
always
Charlie.
associate Eugene was driving, and it was Charlie who actually drove that car. That in the 80s, whatever year that was, 86.
86. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the Nissan side of things. And the car got better because you did get a steering rack into it. And
got a steering rack at the end of the year, like yeah. But you know, but that's when Ellen came on board through that as well.
Yeah.
I think Roy was getting married somewhere, and we needed a co-driver, and so Nissan wanted to put somebody in who had done more for us, and obviously Ellen was there.
Yeah, because Louise.
Ellen was a nice because she had been co-driving for Louise in the Open Championship.
Correct.
That year, so and I think part of the thing was they were talking about giving me a drive in the Open Championship the following year. So it's just put in to see, well, like, was I lucky for a few events, or could I actually steer a bit? But anyway, but I hadn't actually met Ellen before the rally even. Right. So I flew over anyway and left. Picked up the keys in the neighbour's house and all that sort of thing. And there's a wee note inside and all that. There's quiche and all in the oven, and have yourself a bit of lunch, and I'll be home at 3 o'clock, and then we'll head down, like, you know. So, but I was thinking, see this quiche stuff, I'm not so sure. I didn't have much that about Ben Carroll. So, we got a bit of pan bread. It's a lovely bread over there.
A bit of toast.
Sandwiches anyway, the way we went, and headed down the road anyway. And I was, Ellen was saying, like, my worst, myself and Louise we've won this rally before in the Escort, and our worst result in this is fourth, like, and all this.
All right, no pressure.
Sort of thing. And here is, that's very good. And I had the flu, and laryngitis, the whole, could hardly speak. Like, it was an effort to speak, and here it was going first rally with Ellen. Got down way down this, was it Port Talbot, or was those really fast stages? You know, it's the southern stages of Rally GB.
Right, Riola and Resolve.
Riola, all on, and they were all about 15, 20 miles long each.
Yeah.
4 stages in the rally or something like that.
Proper stages. Like.
Proper stages. And I had a teammate then as well, so which was actually somebody, you know, with all the 4-wheel drive cars, it was very hard to make an impression. Yeah. So there was somebody else doing a few rounds of the championship that year in the other car. And I think it made my first real gravel rally. Yeah. Because the discussion come up about fire breaks, or something about fire breaks in such and such a place, or do you watch this? And I says, what's a fire break? That was a wee bit idea. But anyway, there's a place in it in one of the big long stages where you come down. Everybody over there knows it. It runs along a railway line, and it's a couple of miles. It's very, very fast to the finish of the rally, like, you know. Yeah. So we obviously had the wee chat beforehand, like, because it was off the maps. So, you know, what a K was, and a medium and a fast, and so in the middle of this there was a big wood yard. It's like a right and left through it, like, and the logs were stacked about 20 foot high, like. So we come down, turn 90 right, and it's about 1.5 miles to the finish, and all I heard was Ellen says it's flat from here to the finish. But flat to her was mean that's like it's very, very fast, like, it's, you know. There's
no nasties in it.
But flat to me from pace notes meant it's
it's
flat. I was like, well, Jesus, Louise goes down here, and see this woodyard thing coming. Oh, Jesus, Trevor. This is fucking something like never come out of it. Nothing more than a kink now. So I never come out of the thing, chucked it in and chucked it through the other side. And Ellen tells the story really well, because I wasn't saying much all day. It's just the only time we spoke, she says, that's not fucking flat.
4 words.
4 words. But I can picture to this day, like, coming full determination, flat to the finish, like, that's flat, like.
Well, you must have lifted then.
No, lift to sideways.
Oh, it was flat. What's your problem?
Flat. So
second time it mightn't have been.
So much for the We've got a better understanding of that. Because we stuck it for another 14 years or something like that.
I know. Ellen was just the two of you. What proper partnership. So, God bless her, gone. What was it? Just like clearly in her job, she was with Pfizer's, wasn't she? She was senior high up in Pfizer's. So her job role, I suppose,
a company called it turned out to be Avensis at the end up.
Right.
But it was Rowan Palenque. It had graduated, but she was in charge of that time or something to do with the quality control for the Asian Pacific market or something like that, and then went on to be an auditor. But she was very, very, very sharp lady, very, very clever lady, very bright lady, and obviously a very, very well respected and a really nice, real nice lady. Like, and was very important to me at that time. Coming from Ireland, where nobody had television very much.
Yeah, of course.
You're trying to make your way in there, and the introduction to Shell and to Blydenstein and all those sort of things.
GM over the years as well, because you popped up doing gravel notes for like a Yarmo Kidaleto later on, and that wouldn't have happened without Ellen.
That wouldn't, that was all that relationship then, and with John Nixie and guys like that who,
of course,
who was very loyal and who had a great time for and to me was a great manager. But it was he gave me that opportunity as well. Which is
same with us, same with Neil and I. It was John's
great to do all
all
those things.
It's probably that would probably go back to Donegal, and we were in the Civic. John noticed it and convinced Mike Nicholson to have a go with us. Again, just a top man.
He had a better way of working with the Civic in Donegal than I had.
Yeah, a bit different. We'll get to that in a wee while. What about Ellen? It was just a fantastic partnership that you had over the years.
Yeah, it worked really, really well. Sort of everybody liked her. It wasn't hard to like her, but to that enthusiasm coupled with the professionalism.
Yeah.
And everybody, very well respected in the UK, and
the world champion.
And she wasn't world. It was Tina sat with but but she did the formative years with Louise, right up to the Nissan and into maybe the first year of the British Championship in the Vauxhall. Ellen was sitting, and then definitely the Peugeot years, because I did myself and Rory did the Circuit of Ireland one year, and Ellen and Louise was doing it. We ended up staying in the same hotel, but obviously she couldn't do the rally with me.
Got you. Yeah. So that was a Nissan then, and then we're into the Civic. We're into this bad boy.
It wasn't that bad. It was a nice wee car actually, but we didn't have the best of luck with it.
This is on the Manx. This is when it was.
I went to the Manx. We got the car. It was actually John Lyon's car.
It was, yeah.
Tony was involved in the deal, obviously, with Harry McGarty. We acquired the car anyway, so it had to be a Honda Civic. At that stage, the thing with Nissan didn't happen due to the accident in Corsica with Henry Tyven and all that, and then the Group B cars were banned. I was unfortunate, didn't have a contract signed, a deal and all done, and then the whole thing went belly up anyway. So with all the money spent and nowhere to go, so we ended up we got a Civic, and we headed to the Manx that year. And when we arrived there, Kevin Kiley did the rally with me, because Ellen was obviously doing it with Louise, and we found out you needed a plumbed-in fire extinguisher system that we knew nothing about over here. So 2 days before the rally, so it was how we're going to manage to do this. So long story short, and we managed to find the extinguisher, and we spent the last day of the event getting the thing fitted and all that sort of thing, everything done. But it had on the last day of the recce, when we should have been recce, it rained. So on the first 2 stages were stopped, so we got notional time, so we were on our way back to the field, so our times were crap. On stage 3 and then the chorus, we were quicker than Louise and we were quicker than Brooks in the chorus. Then we had up Drydale, up over the top, up the there's a place just before you start going down the hill to the cattle garage, where apparently water runs out all the time after heavy rain, but of course we hadn't been wrecking, so we were coming full steam and hit this river of water. The whole thing was gone.
Yeah, the first to do that.
No, but we know, as I say, we didn't know. We
Yeah.
had been over the day before. But anyway, the funny thing about it is George and two brothers, George and Joe and Tony Kelly, and the whole team were all flying over to watch the rally from Belfast, and of course they were fog bound in Belfast.
Got you.
So the time they landed in the airport in the Manx, I had tossed the sack, and the rally was over.
So the man who you said owned the car before you is watching, and this is what he has to say.
All right, good man. Now.
Good evening, Trevor. Congrats to James, one of Ireland's really quick drivers, John Lyons. There you go. That's respect, isn't it?
That is definitely respect, and one of the best now. Just one of those naturals.
Yeah, completely, 100%.
Just to complete, and and many a time, and once John won the rally in Bundoran that year, the year I was COC.
Of course, yeah.
And funny enough, as you said, actually Ellen Morgan did the rally that year, but I didn't know. I obviously spoke to her some stage with a certain Roger Clerk and an RED Sierra, but the bloody thing only lasted a couple of stages, so it wasn't. That's why there are not much memories of it, or nobody knows too much about it,
Yeah.
But John and Bull, John Big Bull won the rally that year,
yeah. Did, yeah.
And there was 1,100 punts for winning the Donegal Rally in those days.
Again.
So if you counted back like to nowadays, and I think he got 300 or something for one in the class, and 201 for something like that. Like, and
all
the fee would be €100 or 100 punts or something like that.
And another big party.
No, so that was part of the deal.
Yeah. Well, this is it, and of course, big buddies of Tony Kelly as well, and
absolutely again, for years and years and years. Yeah. All that Port na Blah,
neighbours and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah. All that, all the fancy boys down there, you see.
Yeah, this is it. Right, so where are we going now? We're going 88, and the car in 88 was the Ascona then.
The car in 88 was the Ascona.
This is Was this Vincent's car as well?
That was ex-Bertie, ex-Vincent.
Yeah.
So it was guaranteed to be a good car. Like it was a really crack of a car. We did Galway, Donegal, and Killarney in that car, and we never put a spanner on it. We didn't have any money to spend anything on it, but
second each time as well.
Second each time, but unfortunately, a boy called Mark Lovell turned up.
He did.
made things very difficult for us.
I know, but you put it up to him.
Spoiled a lot of good stories now, so we did.
But you put it up to him.
We had a great run, good old run in Galway actually, and then we had a great run in Donegal, like, and only for how would you say? Only for a wee Matt, we might have won the rally, but the problem was Phil Collins blocked the stage, and Vincent was sitting behind him, and we were sitting behind that, and we sat, and eventually they got Phil's car cleared, and Vincent, he just dropped the clutch and took off, like.
Right.
So I think it was 3 minutes or 3.5 minutes or something. I can't remember exactly, or 2.5, like, but come to the end of the night, our big problem was, our big worry was, like, we'd cleaned letter league twice. So instead of being, say, like, I don't know, 4 or 6 seconds up on Lovell leading the rally, we were 4 behind, or I can't remember. And then bang, we found out that the time was, the times were sticking, and they wouldn't give us the time for them to interrupt the stage. And long story, lots of wranglings, lots of stewards, lots of things at 3 o'clock in the morning. But the bottom line was we went out on Saturday 8th or something like that instead of. So what could you do then? But do the best you could then, just and go as hard as you could for a while, and
still go back to second. Like.
We'll go back to. Oh no, it was good. It was a great old event, like, and. Like to race someone of Mark Lovell's caliber, and Bertie was there that year. It was proper rally and proper drivers, and Terry Harriman was sitting with Mark that year, and then I got to know Terry in later years then through the gravel road things with Yanni Papademetriou and all that, like, so. But no, it's one of those things.
They didn't leave anything on the table, like they were absolutely.
Oh, we give it our dirty best, and that's all.
Same with them, Lovell.
No, the boys were. I remember Terry saying different times, like they were in the top. As Rory say, they were going to the top drawer for to win the rally. Like, it wasn't easy.
Yeah, but some fun in that car as well.
It was supercar. Funny, where was it? It was down over Muckish today, earlier in the day, and I haven't been down over it for years and years. And Jesus, there's some serious jumps on it.
Aye.
Haven't been, and like that car it was some car in it was a great car, and the way it would hang on, it would kill you to drive, like no power steering or anything like that. But
What size of wheels would be in the front of that? No power steering?
well, the
9 inch at least.
9-inch fronts and I don't know what.
With no power steering.
No power steering and what I think 10-inch rears would that be right? 10-inch rears.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Serious
Mad,
car, but
isn't
great
it?
car. Great car, but
Yeah. Then you're into the Sierra the following year.
no, the Manta the following year we didn't. That car.
Yeah,
actually
you'd a Manta for a couple of years.
George actually bought that car,
Mm-hmm.
and then he bought a Manta of Phil Collins,
Yeah.
Keith Horseman's car or someone. So we headed off there, and we had a great expedition in getting the car back. Like, I drove back during the middle of the night, and 3 wheels in a tutor or something. We're pouring water on it to try to keep the tire cool and everything else. We couldn't get air somewhere. I don't know. It was long story short, but like Paddy on an adventure, like, sort of thing, and got it back, and it arrived here on gravel wheels. And there's a forestry up above, about 2 mile up above where I live here.
Mm-hmm.
So the following day, after it came off the trailer, I headed for the forestry with the forestry wheels on it for a play.
Excellent. That's proper rallying.
Proper rallying, and of course the word got out then, and turned up about 30 or 40 guys arrived. As it does.
Yeah.
And the place, it's a dead end, and you have a start that comes in from off a wee back road, and then there's another road brings you in about halfway into the stage. For example, it was about 2 miles. It would be nearly 2 mile long. So everybody obviously headed up to the middle section, and there were 20 or 30 cars in the stage, like watching, and it's starting to get dark. So we had lights and all for it. So it was just, we want to have a crack here in the dark before the tires nearly wore off at the stage. Now, to be fair, we shouldn't have been out on it really, but we got the lights on anyway, and heading up for another run. And there's a friend of mine here, a guy called Dennis Orr, who's been a big supporter for years. And at that time, the Gardaí would have had Sierras, like the pink car, the 3-door as patrol cars.
All right.
And while Dennis, he got a blue light, flashing light on the top of the thing. So he came in from the bottom end of the stage, and the Garda and the blue light flashing and us up in the middle of the forest with his Manta. And you'd never seen anything like boys disappearing. They couldn't get out because there was 20 cars and the road was blocked.
Just a scattering match.
I just started running through trees in the dark. Where were you going? But it was a pantomime. It was, you see, like some very well respected businessmen and free boys like that. They were
funny as you like,
running off and through the trees and that pitch dark and falling over stuff. But anyway, it was a good crack when the boy arrived in with a blue light flashing on it, and it had the shape of the Garda car and all that sort of thing at the time.
I love the fact that you just want to take it into the woods, like it's.
But that's yeah. So the forestry tires on. What are we going to do with forestry tires?
Go burn them off it.
Go burn them off it.
But you the Sierra for Donegal that year though, first 3-door, didn't you?
Oh, that was we see now.
There's this car in Donegal.
The Sutton car that came 89. That's right.
Yeah, that's 89. That's
89. Aye. What happened there? That Dave Thomas, who would have been the guru behind Shell Motorsport, and Colin McRae and Bertie and all those guys,
Shell Scholarship and all that,
all that sort of stuff, like and
SBG.
and was a big supporter when it came to the Group N car that time, but. To say it was fairly well pissed off at what happened with in Donegal the previous year.
Yeah.
And so they thought he would do something about it. So he organised a deal with David Sutton, who's now sadly passed as well. So we actually did 2 rallies in that car, but we came to Donegal in a David Sutton. When you think back, Ari Vatanen won Donegal in a David Sutton when I was growing up, when I was going out to just starting to do rallies, and here was I doing one now in this left hooker David Sutton car.
I had to see him because David Sutton ran us in 2003. Remember?
He's a great guy. Like he was just fantastic character. I remember a great man manager. You could see why he was so good with people and how he did everything. Like he was
But a proper
he was
used car
class.
salesman as well. Everything was about a deal.
Absolutely, the gift of the well, you had to be to survive. Like that's how you did it. Like
Yeah.
I knew how to deal with people and how to make them feel good and
Yeah.
all that sort of thing. Like no, a great time for him. Now he treated me extremely well and enjoyed that time.
Good. That was an Al-Hajri gravel car, effectively.
That was an Al-Hajri gravel car,
machine.
yeah, big heavy machine, and one of the best of engines and stuff like that. Like but I'm sure it would have been Donegal and been the whole thing. There had to be a drama. After the previous year, so we couldn't go without a drama. So we had a shakedown on it on the Tuesday night. Scrutiny with the Thursday. John Bevan was the engineer. Went to Hyundai. Asked that. John was sitting on the job done anyway. Everything was settled on a few runs of shakedown. Everything happy. The tires are getting a bit iffy, so that'll do it. We're driving back, sort of chatting, but we're still steering on rightly. And I went on a wee bit deep into a corner, and anyway, half spun the thing, and it was just sitting balanced on the edge of the grass, but it was about a 3-foot drop into the field.
Italian
no
job
fence,
spec.
not a mark in the car. It just sat there, and you could nearly count, and you're just about to maybe think,
Don't move.
oh, did we get away with this? Like, can somebody come up? And it just fell over on the roof. And as it fell over on this roof, and Cal McGinnigan, who arrived at the stage up to see what was going on, but Rory Kennedy and Cal McGinnigan. And as Cal says, there was like the boy in the Transatlantic says the wheels were still turning when they arrived. So, big howling anyway. So, with the boys rang Sutton and they got a bonnet and bits and pieces organised, and they put them on a Ford pickup thing, and they dispatched the boys to Donegal with the body parts.
Yeah, because there's no stickers then, like.
No, there's no stickers in, and Tony organised a guy called Jerry Lynch, and they went in, and 48 hours later the car came out brand new with the Rothman stripes and all back on it again, and every stripe painted on it, like for the car turned up at scrutiny. So,
yeah,
no, it's one of those good old, when guys came together to pull you out, like there were guys down there rubbing down and working and fitness and no word about money, like just have to get this car finished. That's all that matters. Donegal Rally, we have to be there, and that's it.
But again, considering the car, you're still a good result. You're third behind. Llewellyn was there in the.
Well, Llewellyn won the rally. Yeah.
That was the whole point of.
Who was second? Bertie second.
Bertie was second. The BM. Yeah.
And that's the year. I think it was one of Vincent had a great drive that year. It was in the Manta, and it broke a distributor cap or someone on the distributor broke anyway, and that's how we end up third, like.
Yeah, but cracking result considering this
good
compared
good
to the other two. Yeah, brilliant. And then we're into this machine.
Oh.
So this is the Manx in 1990, if I remember right.
Aye, did it in 90 and 91. That's been 90 there, is it? And,
that's 90, I think.
Aye, that's the year Cullen always there in the
That's it. So
Russell Brooks in the Texaco 4-wheel drive car. Bertie was in the BM. I was in that, and Colin was in the RED car, the white one.
Three-door, yeah.
And Colin had to the deal was done, remember, for him to drive the 4-wheel drive car and Rally GB.
But he had to finish to get a seed.
But he needed to be seeding to get him, obviously to get him a road position. And so it was a bit of a ding-dong battle for the third, and it was fantastic. No, to race Russell Brooks, Bertie on the Isle of Man, and to race Colin McCreely. I remember having this chat with. I got to know Bertie fairly well through a couple of things, and he was learning to fly at the time, funny enough, and his instructor would come from the wee airport in Enniskillen. We'd fly out to the Recce. Ellen would fly out, but and he was learning to fly, like, and it was a few hairy lands and crosswinds and things and on when he was learning. And there was one particular time myself and Tony, and none of us we didn't really down about small planes, like they were seriously noisy. The way the thing vibrated, taking off and all that. Yeah. Took off from St. Angelo this day, and fucking thing was moving about everywhere. We were getting up once or so, there was some serious vibration, I think. and the fucking door it blew open. Fucking shot here. It blew. I didn't blow wide open. Like the catch obviously moved on it and blew about an inch apart. nearly well, scared the life out of us, shall we say?
That's scary stuff. Like,
Fucking yeah. Scary stuff.
I'm okay with all of that normally, but things like that happen. Yeah.
Aye. So that we got to know Bertie then, and we used to do when you did the recce during the day. Used to go there and have a bit of a meal at night, and then go back out about 10 o'clock at night for a couple of hours again in the dark, all that sort of thing, like,
Yeah.
But, he was talking about like a couple of stages of the Baldwins, and a few of those like separated the men from the boys in the Isle of Man. Like you can say that talk about Irish Rally and about who knows where they're going, who recce's and who does this and who does that. He says like, but you stand and be counted there, for everybody knows them off by heart, and he says his words were separate the men from the boys, like so.
Yeah.
We had a great. Cullen we were out that night, and our big race was on, and we couldn't get tires. We ran out of tires, and we tried to get Dunlop to put up a set, and we tried to get Brooklyn to put up a set. But long story short, we didn't. So we put the same one back on again, without at night. Did the 3 stages a night, and they were part of it. And Colin was quickest, I was second quickest, and Bertie and Russell were third and fourth quickest on the stages. Like, and Bertie came over afterwards and shook my hand and said, "Well done." Like, that's proper respect. Like, so, and we had a great. I think that was probably great respect anyway. Like, because he was that type of competitor,
Yeah.
But Donegal's one thing, and Ireland rallying's one thing, but the Manx, everybody's on a level footing for you can recce all you want.
But again, that was the start of a relationship. You'd have met Colin before that, but to have a ding dong with Colin McRae, that would have earned a bit of respect from somebody who went on to do what he did as well. And that's got to have been the start of a good relationship that you had with the respect over the years. I'm sure he's brought that up again in conversations.
Oh, we had a super great, and any time you went to a World Championship event or even the British rallies, like, he'd always have a word for you, and it'd have a smart remark of some kind to say, like, it was good slang.
That's
like,
a given.
But like, it was great, like, and Sir Cullen will still have been a hero, like, sure, he's everyone's hero. He's one of the most amazing, gifted drivers that the world has ever produced, like, and then to go up and have a crack with him.
Yeah.
And he would actually had time to speak to you, and and I suppose that respect, which is a big thing, isn't it, really?
Yeah. And you were there in '95 in Chester when he won the title in the stand with
Grinny. We were in this. Because we were doing gravel nose for Vauxhall that year, wasn't it? That year.
Yeah, probably Michigan.
That's how we ended in there with Mike Nick. Yeah.
Mm.
So it was actually in the stand in '95, which was nice, lovely memories to have, like,
Yeah, with Ian Grindrod, of course, co-drove Jimmy all those years as well. It's like,
I know there, like, sort of been the stories even from the gravel notes, like, and the cracks for boys, like, the years with Terry Harriman. I've done a lot of those rallies with Vauxhall. We've done Rally GB, San Remo, and all the British rounds with Ian. Like,
yeah.
I was just thinking earlier on there because he was coming to do this, you're thinking back on things that happened and so on. And a good wee story. Myself and Ian met up after many years of the NEC.
Yeah.
So we're in front of the sand, like, having the chat and rabbling away on, and there's a guy there with big fancy camera, a photographer or whatever. He says, "Excuse me," he says, "Can I, take a photograph?" So we turn around, like, they're posing. No, he says, "Sorry," he says, "I want the car behind you."
Fantastic.
So I just think, Granny says, "That's how you know when your time's up, boys."
Car steals the limelight.
Time to move on and to clue who we were. Like, excuse me, I want the photograph of the car behind you. So.
But when we were in the team, you were doing gravel notes for Jarmo, Kidaletto, and Arto.
And these Finnish notes.
Yeah, I know. Just talk us through that.
They were written in Finnish, but like they were numbers, so they were not too bad. And once you got the key number of the key words, and Hitch was right and something else was left, so Granny just read them in English, like, And then we knew what shit was, we knew what gravel was, and we knew what so.
You didn't know it.
They were fairly simple notes. Now they were good. They were numbers too, which helped a lot, like, as well. So.
Did you teach him what guttery was or boggin or anything like that?
No. We actually, he didn't know what shite was, but we got.
Did you ever say
there's difference between the different types of shite about? Sorry.
Did you ever get a chance to sit in with him in the Astra?
No, they came to test in Muggish one time, but it it didn't actually happen, like, you know. But I got to sit in with Tommy Michael in the Nissan through the Group N car. I'm trying to think of the guy's name now. Who was running the thing at the time, but they were down testing in Tipperary for the Circuit of Ireland.
Yeah.
And I had the Group N car that Andy Brown was running at the time. And I wanted the car to come down as a comparison to see where Tommy was, because the Group N car and the Formula 2 car there wasn't much in it at that time.
Yeah.
So they wanted our car down to set a time as a benchmark to see where Tommy was at, like, and they were down there for 2 or 3 days testing. So I sat down with Tommy in that Sliam Le Mans test stage that they use, that Frank Maher uses and all that, you know. And then I was to get a go in the Nissan myself, but then Alistair, he went away and tossed it.
Right. Yeah,
on his time on the test, so I actually never got a shot in one, like, but just one of those things, like, you know. Yeah. But, you know, actually, I can say I sat with Tommy, so.
Yeah, no, it's mad. I got in with a Yarmo on a gravel test once in the Astra. Right. Never seen anything like it in my life. Like,
for a front, what you can do with a front wheel drive car on gravel, like, is amazing. Yeah,
it's just the way he hooked it in. Like, the throttle was a switch; it was on or off. That was it, simple. But he would point a car into the apex of the corner and nail it before the apex, like, and just complete commitment to it. That the car is going to move around the front, wheel straight. It's just a completely amazing thing. Like, hard on tires, but you know. It's just a talent. It's a completely different way of driving, like, and it's just amazing to witness it. But hey,
they came into Donegal one year too in those cars.
They did. Well, that's the point. This year we were in the Civic, and we weren't that far off him in a couple of his stages. So that's what sort of
who else was here? That was
Nixie picked up.
Well, Peugeot. What do you call him was here in the Peugeot with a Shell scholarship lad.
Johnny Milner.
Not Johnny Milner. No, you sat with him, didn't you?
Martin Rowe.
Martin Rowe.
Yeah.
Sorry, yeah. Martin's
and remember, they brought the Audi over for Jimmy, because Chris Patterson co-drove Jimmy that year as well.
But then she had loads and loads of problems. Like,
it's a typical thing.
Loads of problems. But that was that was the boys having fun. That was the reason for to get to Donegal.
Yeah. Well, this is it. It's like the Blydenstein guys.
It's what they call the Volkswagen guy. Ron Volkswagen at the time.
Dave Woodcock.
No. The Ron Volkswagen.
Oh, sorry, Steve Bagnall. Yeah.
Steve Bagnall and Dave Thomas. Like, so
that's it.
That was the weekend's crack in Donegal. Let's get an Audi. Like, you know, we'll put Jimmy on the trees. We'll have a bit of crack over here.
Exactly. And that's what it was. It's all about the party, and no better place to have a party. Right, let's move into 91. I'm just conscious of time here. We're almost in 2 hours. This was a machine then.
She was what she was. Like, she was a well put together car. She was a hired car. She was there to earn money and do a job, and that's what she did. She was heavy. She wasn't the quickest, but she was very strong, very reliable.
Teach you manners in the wet road, though.
And we got a great, you know, it was very kind to us. You know, and definitely you could spin the wheels in fourth gear in a wet road. Seriously, you could light up the, you know, and it was a great learning curve too, because it taught you an awful lot about lots of things, throttle control, how to anticipate. You know, as a driver. If you didn't treat it rightly, it would definitely bite you.
But the lag in particular, like on a wet road, must have
the lag in the early days now, before the anti-lag thing was like, you had to anticipate it nearly a second or half a second before and that's where the trick came. You know, if you weren't left foot braking it, you had to sort of come on the throttle fairly early now and hope for the best. But we did a lot of rallies in that car actually, and I ended up going to the Welsh. In that car one year as well. Right.
But that was the first win in Donegal, though, in that car.
That was the first one in Donegal. Just, you know, stroke of luck, too. The car arrived here, and a guy called Ray Sherritt, who had been the engineer with RED, a very, very gifted guy, had parted ways with RED about 3 weeks before the Donegal Rally, and then with Ellen's connection, again with the Louise, with RED in the early days, with the escorts and the Sierras and all that sort of thing. She said to Ray, "Are you doing anything in Donegal time? Would you fancy coming over and taking charge of this?" So he came over, had a look at the car, and said it was a piece of rubbish. So we spent 2 days in Tony Kelly outside in Tony Kelly's yards trying to get the four wheels pointing in the one direction. His car was flexing everywhere. It was done.
Yeah.
So they welded it up and got all sorts of things done with it and got the four wheels pointing in the right direction. And they say the rest is history.
Amazing.
So you need the wee brakes too, like to come your way. So
you definitely do. Let's see if I can share this and see if it works here, folks, just so we can have a quick look at this. Right. So
Chris Patterson, a fabulous second place.
For James Cullen and Ellen Morgan, this is utopia to win your first international and win it at home.
It seems that the whole county has turned out to greet their heroes. Behind the Emerald Band, emotion is spilling over in the pink Cosworth. Only once before has a Donegal man won his home international. And now, with 5 second places in international rallies, James Cullen and Ellen Morgan add a win to their already impressive CVs. Behind these years of dedication, searching for budgets, and a determination that has never caved in, it's a win also for the four lanterns, Tony Kelly Cars and Shell Oils, who have so faithfully believed in the Letterkenny driver over the years. Donegal is James Cullen and Ellen Morgan's today.
Well, James, pinch yourself. You're the winner of the Donegal International Rally.
Yeah, it's still a bit hard to believe, but I think it's just difficult at times there to keep back the tears coming up the road. All the emotion coming out, all the tension these last few days. We've tried so hard this time, we came so close so often, and it's just great to get there in the end of it.
You've been so much part of this rally. You've been clerk of the course. You've won your class in it before. Did you ever dream this moment would come?
I think everyone involved here dreams of something like that. Like, this is my hometown, home county. I've ran the rally. I've been involved with the motor club for 10 years now. And I think to come now, that puts the icing on the cake.
And Ellen, you know the sacrifice this man has made for rallying. At this moment, I can see the tears welling there a little bit.
I think James has said it all, really. There's so many people who've helped to get us here today. And I think this win is as much for them as it is for us. James has tried so hard over the years, and there's been a lot of if-onlys. We've nearly won it 2 or 3 times. To actually do it at last is absolutely super.
Give him a big handshake there. Absolutely fabulous.
there you go.
a few memories there now.
Incredible, isn't
As
it?
I say, Ellen always had the right words at the right time, didn't she? She was good that way.
Just amazing, you know. And I have no comprehension of what it's like. Like, I won the Ulster Rally, which was great, but nothing compared to winning your home rally from Letterkenny. That just must have been the absolute. I've celebrated like I won the Donegal International plenty of times, but yeah, that's just a special thing altogether.
It's that iconic rally, isn't it? And we're all brought up with, with the Vatnans and the Curleys and the Colemans and all the stories, all the heroes, all the dramas down the years, and then you're a little part of that history yourself. Sure, is great.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I was there that year too. You won the Ulster. I was doing grab. Was it?
Of course, yeah. Yeah.
Who else was there? That was Mark there that year, no? Or Mark Higgins, no?
Yeah, Mark was there in the Volkswagen. Yeah, they were all there. Renault were there, of course. Tapia won the championship that year. Yeah, it's definitely different when you win your home rally, no doubt about it. Right. So that was the Donegal win. That was the big thing. You still okay? Are you with me? Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was starting to show my battery's running low here. It says now, but
right.
I don't know why, but.
We get you plugged in a minute then.
And it's not the pensioner part of me now, it's not my battery.
All right, okay. It's definitely plugged in. All right, give you a minute or so in a second.
No, it's plugged in. I was looking there, so.
Right.
Don't know.
Okay.
If not, we'll have to blame Rory.
Rory Candy.
I fair played him now. We had a technical problem earlier on, so it's Rory's laptop I'm using here.
Fantastic.
Not that I have one anyway, but if I have one. So
he's
fair play to Rory,
Aye. Yeah, so then we're into this car.
That was a good deal. That was a nice car. That was, I suppose, as close as you come to a works drive.
Yeah.
I was trying to do a deal with David Thomas to buy Alistair McRae's, the scholarship Sierra.
Yeah.
And couldn't get it to work anyway, and one thing and another. So Dave hatched this plan then, because it was the scholarship years, and we had Buckler were coming on board. At that stage, we knew that they wanted to come in, and we just needed to try and make sure we had a car. Now we had a sponsor on board, not a big enough sponsor, but not enough to run the thing or anywhere near it. So Dave hatched the plan anyway under the Shell scholarship thing that SBG would build. If I could supply a donor car, they would build me a Group N car, the same as, because they took on they had the Shell scholarship car for Martin Rowe, Johnny Milner, and then Gundaf came on board with the Vecta black car for the British Championship.
He did, yeah. So
they thought then maybe we'll do the Irish Championship as well, and we'll get James. My job then was to get a donor car. So I got done a deal with Phil Collins, and he supplied me with a brand new Escort Cosworth.
Yeah.
That I didn't even see. Went down to SBG and Blackie, and it was actually Andy Brown and Smurf, and built it down there for me, and Shell came on board with our normal sponsors and with Buckler, and obviously in the Shell colours, and they picked up a lot of the cost that year, the rebuild costs, and a lot of and provided service, part of the service crew, and made a huge difference. I was going to do. Wasn't ready in time for Galway, so the circuit was his debut, and I was going to do a championship that I'd never done before, and it was going to be paid for. The difference that meant, all you had to do then was drive the car, really.
Yeah.
Just unbelievable difference, and to do a number of rallies in a row, you just got better. I never done, I was doing 2 rallies a year. Maybe, and the Yorkie car we made on the circuit.
It's amazing.
Donegal,
you think of
and that,
all the seat time that you had and the pace that you could drive those things at, it just shows the talent that you had.
Aye, and that's what anyway. But that made a huge difference. And then we were lucky enough to have the championship tied up for the Manx, so we went to Cork then with the championship won, and could have a real proper crack at that. And then the weather played a hand in it. It got wet, and then it got very, very, very wet. But so it suited the car then by being wet and all that. We won the rally in it.
Yeah, another win, and a Group N car, and an international rally, which hasn't happened very often.
No, we did great all year. And we actually ended up runner up in the championship. I think we finished 3rd in the circuit, 2nd in Killarney, 3rd in Donegal. Yeah, broke a gearbox in the Ulster and we were excluded then by being 10 seconds over maximum by a certain rally official who will remain nameless, but I will never forget.
We'll definitely keep that one quiet.
We won Group M in the Manx and got a B seeding.
Yeah,
that year, and then we won Cork.
That's you went to Clerk with number 1 on the car, wasn't it? Was it number 1? Yeah,
that was but anyway. So and it was great to win, because Cork was the home of Buckler, which were Murphy Brewery, Heineken, Murphy Brewery. So that was their home event as well. It was
alcohol-free lager at the time.
Alcohol-free lager and all that, and it was great that time, because you had that and Calibre were.
There we go. I think that battery might have gone. You think his battery's gone? Anyway, we'll get rid of James for the time being. He'll work out how to plug that back in. I'm going to bring somebody in that he might be surprised at when come back in. Andy, how are you?
I'm at Trevor, yourself?
I'm wonderful, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. Yeah, great.
So James mentioned there that you were part of this whole Escort Cosworth thing. You were part of SBG when you and Smurf built the car together. So what memories you got of that back then, Andy?
Yeah, well, I was really just contracting for Steve Black then at the time. Obviously, SBG was a great company that had a lot of success, and I was giving them a hand built that car and did a couple of rallies with them, and then I kind of went off on my own. Then set up my own business.
Mm-hmm.
So I was just really kind of getting established myself while James was running that car with Steve. So obviously, like he says, he had a great year just with the shell backing. I mean, that was probably his best year. Being a full, as close to works driver as he could be, I guess.
Yeah. So, your relationship with James, and he's always credited you for helping him out throughout the career. So how did that develop then, where you started to run his cars from? So from then on, just talk us through it, because you basically got a car and you were doing it in your workshop at home, weren't you?
Yeah, well, I was, getting established, looking at work. I was doing a lot of work for Malcolm Wilson, running Stephen Finlay. Again, contracting, but running Stephen in Ireland in Bertie Sapphire. And then I eventually got a workshop in Daventry, which is where SPG were as well.
Yeah.
So got to the end of that year and Shell weren't going to continue with James. So he had the car. It was his car. So as he does, he went off and got some money again to run the car. So then he came to see me and he said, look, I think I had someone in mind over there to run with it first, and maybe didn't go too good. So we got the car then and ran it for the rest of the year. So I think the first rally we did with him was the circuit.
When would this have been? It would have been
94.
Yeah.
Yeah, 94.
Okay.
And it was really bad snow that year. The weather came in, and I mean that's back when it was a big proper rally. I think it was 4 or 5 days. It was a mammoth job.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, the bad weather come in, and just by chance we had some gravel tires in the van. The van I used belonged to Tim Ellis-Jones, who's another customer of mine. So we just come straight from a British National Rally straight over to Ireland, and just by chance they were in the back of the van. So we stuck them on, and sure enough, great. James then was quickest by a mile on the couple of stages in the snow.
Uh-huh.
Built up a big lead, and I thought, this is unbelievable. We're gonna win the circuit here, the Group N car. But unfortunately, I had a bit of an off then, so that was the end of that rally. So, and then the problem for the rest of the year was, obviously the pressure was on to deliver for the sponsors. He'd got Buckler on board, and had to try and win the championship. So whereas he really could have been pushing a lot harder on some of the rallies, he had to bring it home. That was
those cars traditionally had gearbox issues as well, Andy, if I remember right, Escort Causies.
They did. They were notorious for gearbox problems, and again, being kind of quite tight budget, we were always carrying a gearbox around in the back of my Sierra 4x4 chase car. We had the one spare gearbox, and so it had to be with us all the time. And there was a few times when we'd have been changing the box at the end of stages up a farm track somewhere, tucked away. But no, I mean, he went okay. I mean, Donegal, and we went to Ulster and in Cork.
Yeah,
tied up the championship.
I think he won Group N and everything, bar maybe the Ulster. He was second in that, but he was 5th overall in Cork, and 6th in Ulster. It's like proper results in it. And again, when you understand the lack of seat time that the man had, it's quite incredible.
Yeah, and I think the biggest thing, to be honest, is the fact that, like he said the year before, he didn't have to worry if he crashed it would get fixed. Every other year, probably he's ever rallied, if the car got damaged, he was the one that was paying for it, So there's no question. Any driver will tell you that that's going to, knock a few seconds off every stage, And at that top level, it just shows how good he was, that he could still compete, having that at the back of his mind, that everything he had was tied up in the car.
Yeah. I don't remember that much of James Cullen going off, They were clearly along the ways, but this was 94. I think this would have been the Ulster where he finished 6th that particular year then.
Yeah, that was it. No, I mean, he's very, very clean driver. I mean, I think that circuit is the only time I can remember him going off, when I was looking after him. I mean, very rarely a mark on the car, you know. I mean, and just so clean and tidy. I mean, you watch a lot of the drivers, you know, to get the same speed, they're up the ditches and up the banks and cutting corners, and James was just so smooth, you know, so then the tyres would last longer and the brakes weren't getting so much stick, which I think he'd learned from the Group N. So going forward then, I think he carried a lot of that, helped him, the corner speed and mechanical sympathy for sure, you know.
Got you. So then at the end of that year, 94, we changed the car then.
Yeah. So then
we'll make it a bit faster.
yeah. So the plan had always been to try and get some more money from Buckler and carry on and build a Group A car. Didn't really work out with the proper budget that he wanted. But, you know, he managed to get enough through, again, Tony Kelly and, you know, Four Lanterns and everyone that always helped him out to convert his Group N car.
Yeah.
So we went up to Malcolm, got a full Group A tarmac suspension kit, basically. And then I just took the car back to a bare shell and then we rebuilt it as a Group A car. Mount Tune helped us out with the engine, which was really good. I'd always used them and knew the boys from when I was working with Boreham, so they were very keen to help James and always looked after us. So, you know, had a fantastic engine. The biggest hindrance, I guess, the car was the transmission because, you know, to buy a 7-speed works gearbox.
It was 30 grand or something at the time, wasn't it?
Yeah. There was just no way. So Roger Nevitt at R&D, he did his own 6-speed gearbox.
Yeah.
And just literally brought it out that year. So again, he was keen to develop that. So we bought a box of him and he gave us a spare to take, kind of, you know, if you use it, you pay for it kind of thing, but still a return. So that was great. And he did us a good deal on the rebuilds and everything. And it was a great box. You know, I think he'll admit as well, it maybe just wasn't as strong as the Ford one. So again, James always had that in the back of his mind that he had to kind of look after that. But anyway, we got the car built and same old as usual. It was last minute, you know, so over to Donegal and tested at Breena just, you know, one day before the rally in afternoon. A few runs up and down, and I mean, James just straight on it, you know. And then to go, you know, Donegal that year, everybody was you know, the entry list then, the top 10, it probably, you know.
Yeah, so that was year. You had Alistair there first off in the Nissan.
Yeah, I mean, quite a few of the Factory F2 teams, and then, you know, Fisher, Nesbitt, Michael, everybody, you know, when it was just Frank, I think, you know, it was a mad entry. So, you know, to go there, going into it, to be honest, I was thinking, well, you know, we'll just go there and see how the car goes and, you know, hopefully get round, you know. I mean, it was straight out of the box kind of thing. So then, you know, to go into the rally, and, you know, you've got to remember that rally we had, you know, Tim's van, my Sierra, and Tony Kelly's little Hiace van, the tyre van with Joe and Kieran in that. So, you know, when you're up against the likes of, you know, Bertie with Pro Drive and their management cars and Pirelli over there and repeater cars for the radios, and to try and compete with that is, again, just shows for James to finish second there. You know, led the rally for, I think, 3 stages. You know, there was no one else anywhere near to those two at that time. And, you know, so, I mean, I was over the moon, to be honest, you know, to get that result. And we got to the end of the rally and we were in a little cafe just before the prize giving. We were having a cup of coffee or something, you know, and Joe and all the boys were there. And I walked in and it was like a funeral, you know, and I'm thinking, I was made up thinking, you know, we'd come second and James has, you know, done brilliant. And just, you know, I just realised then how much that rally meant to them, that, you know, because I hadn't won, although I think later he'd probably admit that it was still an amazing drive, you know, to do that in a new car. But but yeah, it was certainly, impressive. I think anyone that was there would have said, they couldn't believe the pace that James was going.
Incredible. Let's see what he has to say about it. I think
Is he back?
we've got a co-driver hanging about there that needs to offer an apology, I'd have thought.
No, he's walked away. Chase car got in there and got a start.
I tell you, that chase car must have been going some speed to get down there and get a new battery. What, did he change the battery in the laptop, or what did he do?
He got it sorted out anyway. We'll not give away any trade secrets.
What, he plugged it in?
He rang Andy Brown there and found out what to do. Jesus, Andy, hey, it's great to see you.
Yeah, and you, James.
I do. Jesus, where did you get this from?
Oh, this is cool. You can't grow it on top, James. You have to grow it down here.
Go somewhere.
I was just trying to think, James. I reckon the last time I seen you I think it'd be 2002 Rally Wales. I was doing travel notes for David Higgins, and you were there. I think we were at the start of the stage.
I were in a Michelin plate or something. Was that one?
Aye, that's right.
You organised that there. We were doing them for Vauxhall, and with the Michelin. Shelf and Grinny were with the fancy Michelin jackets, and also we looked really good.
There you go. Right,
2002. Jesus Christ, Andy. You've travelled some since, why?
Yeah, been around a bit, but we're back here now anyway. So. But no, it's great listening to the stories. It brings back a lot of memories for sure.
I heard a bit on there now, so I must get I have to get in contact now, and this is over. So I'm going to do a UK trip.
All right, do a UK tour.
I'm going to do a UK tour there now once I get back on again. No, for sure. Just things I guess bring back so many memories too, and the people you've met and know, and people who are friends, and just to call in and say hello again.
Isn't it a good job? Isn't it a good job of that man at the end of the line? He could jump in last minute, like how quickly he was able to come in. That's a proper chase guard.
That's why he is the man he is, and that's why we won the rally.
So just talk us through then your involvement. So Andy was telling us about how he got involved. So what did he bring to the party for you, James?
Somebody you could trust, who knew what he was doing, who produced a really good car, understood that it was on a budget, and got the best out of everything that you could bring to it. Like, we didn't have big budgets. Andy was just one of those gifted guys we were lucky to meet at the time, particularly with the Group A car. Like, that car would not have been built only for Andy's expertise, his connections, and his commitment. Like, what that car was built for would be, it would surprise a lot of people. And I would never been able to move into to drive that car. Fair enough, it didn't have the gearbox, didn't have the front diff, but it was still like everything else was just top class, proper mount chain engine, proper suspension, brakes, everything. And like in the first 2 years, it never missed a beat. Like, it came to Donegal out of the box, and the only thing we were probably missing was the fuel. Mm-hmm. We were running super unleaded, like we were running ordinary fuel,
right?
And we nearly won the rally.
Mm-hmm.
And we did the circuit in that car. And as I say, limited budget, just a gifted guy, and probably to be associated with that. And that, from Andy brought the Group N car for SPG as well. He did. Yeah, it was his hands on that.
Yeah.
It was SPG who built the car, sort of such, but like, it was Andy and Smurf, wasn't it? And
Smurf,
that Ian had built the car,
Yeah.
And then when this thing with Yorkie came about, and we were going to see how can we get out of this Group N thing, and Andy devised a plan of how to get it sorted.
Yeah.
His contact with somebody in who did the cage,
he talked
who did
us
all
through
the fabrication. I missed all that,
he talked us through it, and it's great to have somebody like that on your side, and then go into '96, where you've got the car properly working.
And without people like that, I wouldn't have done the rallies I would have done, by any manner of means, but people like that who believed in themselves and who believed that we could do a good job on it, and it worked both ways, it worked for the both of us. And people like that put their it's not for the money, it's in you to do it, and it's in you to maybe prove that you can do it, and what you can and what you can do. Like, and Andy's done that with that car. So it's,
I mean,
it was a great time.
That was great for me as well, because obviously, I just started my business, so having James in Ireland and Tim Ellis Jones over here was doing really well in the national championship, and so it seemed like every other week I was putting an ad in the Motor News saying we'd won something, because I was really lucky getting with James and Tim, that we were getting results, and then then we ended up getting work back from Nissan that I'd worked before, and that was really, you need that kind of work to re-establish your name, I guess, get your name out there. So it worked for me, as well as, hopefully doing a good job for James. But yeah, building that Group A car was great, because when you can go up with a small team on a small budget and have a go with the big boys, I think it's even more rewarding. I mean, maybe didn't just get quite the result at Donegal, but like I say, to go as close as we did with the budget that there was, and all the work that everybody put in was, it's nice to be a part of things like that. They're the rallies you remember.
When you think on it, like, it took ProDrive to beat us in a number of rallies.
Yeah.
Verdi and ProDrive, that's what, that's like up against Liverpool or Man United, isn't it?
Well, I've told this story before, James, but I can remember after that rally in Mount Errigal, and everybody was, stood around. Must have been the prize giving, Bertie and Austin, and everyone was stood around and chatting about, how well you'd gone. And Bertie himself, he says, what they should do, he says, they should put us all in Mark II Escorts. He says, that'd be some spectacle for the crowd, Everybody was chatting on, and he says, but I'll tell you one thing, he says, none of us would see the way that man goes, pointing to James.
Yeah.
And so that shows the class of Bertie as well, that he knew how quick James was going, and if everyone was in the equal cars, I think he knew how quick James was like.
Yeah, I was a great, that was the sportsman side of him, and and, that thing we talk about is one of my, I suppose the one of the best things to take out of rallying is that respect or camaraderie. It comes from people who are your heroes or your peers or whatever, because when it's all said and done, it's one of your own memories that you have, when you finish the sport, like, that's what you've left. And sadly, he's not here today. Like he was one of the, he was the ambassador of Irish rallying, and sportsman to always.
Oh, definitely, yeah, 100% gentleman. That's for sure. And he knew as well. I mean, he had the best of kit, and I think he appreciated that. So when people did get close to him, I think he knew. He had to, like you say, he had to go to the top drawer as well.
And he knew how to drive a Mark II in his day as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But even just to run that car over 4 years, was it? Between 95, 96, 97, 98. That's a fair commitment as well for you guys, for you to go and find the budget, and all the partners who stood by you all those years as well.
Well, the latter years, I moved up to Mike Little's to work, and James, kind of followed us up there. So it was kind of run under the Mike Little's banner for a couple of years, which, again, it was probably a bigger budget to go with Little's, but then, you're getting a bit more expertise from there, backing with Ford. So, but it's just a shame, really, that, the work drive that James had in the Group N car, if he'd ever got it in the Group A car, I think there'd been a few more rallies won, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Even you talk about Little's there, I remember the two lads that worked for there, the two rally guys as well, support, fans, and we went over and painted Mike Little's garage one day.
That's right.
Do you remember that?
I do.
Went over in that Tony Kelly's high ace van. We all got loaded up and headed for the boat, and we painted down inside and outside of the garage and all against part of the bill for the car. So
Mike Little come up.
It was crack. And we ended up then a whole lot headed down to. We stayed down then. We're down to Wimslow, then down to Ellen for the weekend. The three of us stayed. They went to a football match on the Saturday or something, and all that sort of crack. The two, the three of us, So, but But that, you did whatever it was. So we painted, but fair play to the boys, got the garage painted for it.
Fair play.
We took it off the bill, so that was great.
Mike Little said to me, if he doesn't stop painting soon, he's going to be in credit.
He's painted everything.
If any we could get painted gates outside, we painted whatever we could get our hands on. That, and remember the NEC thing as well. That was all went. We got a great oil.
That's right.
We got a deal from Ford to do the NEC
the
for 2 years,
live action,
the live action show for 2 years, and that came off the bill and that as well. So it was great. Well, check went straight to Little's just so
brilliant.
But so that was another great experience. That was some crack. That definitely was some crack.
Some stories. Andy, thanks very much for your time. You're at Silverstone today. What were you up to there?
Yeah, we're just I'm at Tuthill Porsche now, so we're just racing a couple of Porsches there for the day. So back into the weather over here, rain, and trying to get Porsche set up to go around Silverstone. So that was an interesting day.
And you've just been with ProDrive for the Legend side of things, yeah?
Yeah. So I was back there a couple of years. Just set that the Legends program there, got that up and running, and it was going good, but I got offered a really position at Tuthill that I couldn't really turn down. Heading up the motorsport there, and a lot of big things happening. So it just seemed like the right move.
You've only 17 cars going to the East African Safari, is that right? Not the World Championship round, the one that runs every 2 years.
Yes. Hopefully it's capped at 17 now. So
not with Richard involved. There'll probably be another 2 or 3. He'll get there.
Oh, I'm sure if anyone come up with the money, he wouldn't say no. That's for sure. But I think it'll be an interesting event with Mr. Block there and a few others. A couple of other names that are going to get released probably this next week, which will make it interesting. So we've got a busy few months ahead getting ready for that.
And you've got the Singer project as well, which is the Baja car is just a nuts looking car.
Oh yeah, it's incredible. Yeah, that's amazing, and the attention that's generated for the company is just unbelievable worldwide coverage. So it's all good. There's big things happening there. It's great to be involved with.
Yeah. Well, listen, thanks for taking the time to come in tonight. The whole idea was to surprise Mr. Cullen, but it turned out we surprised him in a way that he wasn't expecting. It was lovely to have you there as a backup in the end when the Donegal IT expert couldn't plug his laptop in. But
no problem. Please, I could fill in there till the main man comes back.
It's great that chase cars are not banned here still, isn't it?
It's lovely to have you here. We'll have to get you back for a whole show on your own because the stories that you have, Andy, over the years is quite incredible. If you want to listen to those, like James, he did a podcast with Kevin Clendenning, the Crunching Gears podcast. If you want to listen to that, find that. But we will get you back at some point in the future, Andy, just to hear some of them stories as well.
Yeah, that's great, Trevor. Thanks very much, and all the best, James. Good to see you after all this time.
Fantastic to see you, Andy, and I'll be in touch. And and definitely I'll be turning up on your doorstep. I'm now historic age, you see, so I have to find out the historic card. So
you fit in then.
I'll fit in all right with it.
No bother at all.
It'll take you a day to go around Tuttle's anyway if you haven't been there before. So.
No, I've never been there before, so that's on my list there now.
We'll get you around for a tour then. No
definitely will be there. Certainly will.
Brilliant. Right, thanks, Andy. We'll catch up soon.
Great, Andy. Class to see you.
Take care.
Best. Yeah.
Bye.
Class.
There you go. You didn't expect
class.
that.
2002. Jeez, that's terrible. Because he went away to the States and all, and with a great, as you say, it was against the odds. So, and we're sort of in it together. It was his new company, and I suppose that's part of what rallying is, isn't it?
But it sounded like a partnership that was made in heaven. I remember at the time I didn't know of Andy Brown. I'd heard the name, Andrew Brown Motorsport. I wasn't really sure who he was.
That's the the ABM and the plate and all. Then sure,
of course, But of course, when you hear his story, his backstory, of course, all the people that he knows, I've known, and it's the usual motorsport thing. It's a small old world when you start to hear it.
But he was abroad then in the States, wasn't he? Sure,
he was,
away for 10 years. I don't know, he was away for a long time.
He was, indeed, yeah. Right, what are people saying now? Steve Sheridan, one of the best ever behind the wheel. Thanks, Stephen. Shane Burns, sounds like you're talking yourself into a job, James. This is talk of the course job for any rally. You're the man for it. Sean Moyle said, legend, gentleman. Is this one? Kevin Sinnott, always a big fan of James. And still, James's Dunlop hat after winning the Cork 20.
Wow.
He gave me after the finish ramp. There you go. Didn't even put it on eBay. Good man, Kevin. Jared Summers, great driver, and the late Alan Morgan, great team. They definitely were. Timmy, love the way James used to throw the scone from left to right coming into a hairpin, but she always ended up going up the right direction. Gentleman Rally, and Aidan is watching. James Jordan's here as well. Great Sunday night entertainment. And another, this legend word's coming up a lot. The only reason I went to Four Lanterns because I see it in James's car. Great burger it is too. Great driver to watch. Thanks, Kenny. That's what sponsorship's all about, isn't it? I've been to the Four Lanterns in Letterkenny as well for the same reason. Colin Doherty, James, what's your memories of the Nissan 240? We looked at that one earlier. Tommy Hayes, good to have you here, Tommy. Great to see James in the show. Best house in Letterkenny for the tea and toast.
Good at Tom.
And Kieran Burke's watching.
Oh, right, yeah.
Mr. Noble, JSC shows with enthusiasm, determination, ability, you can achieve your goal. Definitely. There's no doubt about that. Just, you think about all the things that you had to do to get the money to go rallying and all those partnerships that you've built over the years. It goes back to the same thing. It's these relationships that you start and looking at from the other person's point of view. Any tips or anything you could pass on to the young kids then as to how to get sponsors and keep sponsors? They're like a buckler, Incredible. And Yorkie?
It all started really with great local people, Tony Kelly, like Frank Rhines, who's not with us now, and Frank was a huge rally supporter, supported the rally, supported me, supported local football, everything local. He was one of those great guys, and you were lucky enough to meet him, and he had an interest in rallying, and he was involved for 10 or 15 years with me, I can't remember. Tony opened his business in 81 and was under the car until he stopped. And Drifter Shoes, Fancy Wheeling, another rally man, and that loyalty. And then we were lucky enough to get into the corporate side of things, the Buckler thing came about from the local rep here, Hubert Valkenburg, made the initial call and set up the meetings, and down we went and did our bit, and so on and so forth. And it's all, it's all that family of connections of people who would like to help you and will make the call or, make that introduction based on their recommendation. There's another guy, another great supporter, Mike Moriarty there, just his name coming up there, he's huge enthusiasm for the support, great worker for Killarney, and just always been there in small ways down the years, and loads of people like that, But as I say, it's very difficult for young drivers now. It always was difficult, but
yeah,
I wouldn't like to have to do it now with the budgets that you're talking about.
It's just incredible. How did it get to that?
The structures really to get. There's some structures there now, but I think you still need to be extremely gifted or very lucky, and still have huge financial connections now to make it. If you're going out now and you have designs on the World Championship, you need millions.
And in fairness, we have a lot of people up there. Look at the weekend, or from the British Isles.
Yeah, I would have takes to get those guys out to Portugal to do a junior rally. Yourself, the costs are mind-boggling. It's not. It's some. It's I suppose personal experience sometimes is an achievement just to get there.
It is,
and then to get there and perform.
Yeah, which they all did this weekend.
With some great guys out there, obviously Craig Breen comes to mind, who's nearly, but Rob Dubin, Josh and Armstrong, all those guys, there's no money. They're fighting a losing battle from you start against that, and so we've been extremely lucky for the amount of talent we've had down the years,
yeah.
We were chatting to somebody last day and say if we could put out an Irish team of rally drivers to compete in the World Championship, I'd say a 10 strong team, we definitely wouldn't be last.
Yeah, no way. And we have the money at the minute. We're finding the money through lots of people who have been very generous, and long may it continue, because if you look at where we are as an island, at the front of the World Championship in many categories now, you know.
We look back a couple of years ago, Chris, and Craig, you know,
Yeah.
at the top of
course.
We never, when we grew up, never dreamed that we would see an Irish guy competing in a factory car at the World Championship. We thought it would never happen.
And winning 5 World Championship rallies in Chris's case.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, who else we got? Darren Harvey, super driver and real gentleman. Dad always said he was the best driver Donegal ever produced, and no car that he couldn't get the maximum out of. Again, limited seat time. That was the big thing for me with Mr. Cullen. Hugh McCurry is the story of the Nissan, the Snowy Welsh Rally.
That was me all taped up. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we know that one. Yeah, that's right. We heard about that one. Charlie McGinley, Trevor, it's a nice way to wrap the show. Asked James about swapping 4 wheels for 2 nowadays. He cycles regularly with myself and Angus Hunter. Not a good rally driver. I remember Angus in his day, and he's as competitive as ever. Are you competitive on a bicycle then? Love the show, James, and encyclopedia knowledge of the sport, and as the driver is regarded as in the elite. Sheer talent, form is temporary, class permanent, and that's our JC. Great words, well spoken. Yeah, are you competitive on a bicycle?
Not at all, no, but I enjoy getting out on one.
Right, okay.
Aye. No, it's not like rally. No, I enjoy getting out on it. Actually, a bit more sense now to be.
Right.
You know, I have to remember I'm a pensioner now.
As long,
here, and I'm not Patter Harrison. Patter doesn't believe in on age. He just feels the same as he was when he started. He and drives the same. But
some energy, that man.
He is. Class guy, isn't he?
Yeah, yeah.
Really is.
Patrick, Charlie McGinley, even a quick man on the snowmobile as well, couldn't keep up on Rovaniemi.
Rovaniemi, I used to go to Rovaniemi.
Did you?
We had funny enough, a motor club here in IT. And Seamus Gollers, you know, used to drive the Saxo. Seamus, the lecturer out there, and Seamus got me in to help out with the club. And we started to teach them all to navigate and do bits and pieces and road safety, all this, you know, all this sort of thing. So we done wee navigation trials and had them all out, and I got a few guys to man them and do the thing. And then through a friend in Rovaniemi who had a friend who owns the Snow Rally Rings rally school out there, Penty. Yeah. We took the guys out a couple of years to go and play rally cars in the snow for the students at a huge discount. And Patrick Brides there got a sponsorship and ran a function or so, and we got a bit of money in, and the students gathered up for the summer money, and 17 of us went or something for 2 or 3 years. Went out and did it in BMWs and Starlets and rally car Starlets, like 1600 Starlets on the snow, studs, proper studs, the whole thing. And we obviously had a day on skidoos and snowmobiles and all that sort of thing. We did that we got 3 years.
Amazing.
So you know, it was. I know Rovaniemi, like I know Belfast.
Your best buddies with Santa Claus then?
I have been up, you know, old Santa Claus out there used to be the COC for the rally when it used to be the Arctic Rally. Funny enough.
Yeah.
And because of the things through the gravel note, through John Papsey used to do that, finish championship every year. And a guy called Dave Stewart, who used to run a team in the UK, is married and living out there now. So it was through that contact, and we had done notes on it for Yanni for 5 or 6 years, or 7 years, and then it was out 3 or 4 times with the students and stuff like that. So no, it's class place.
Yeah,
class place in the snow, like, and snow and rallying drivers go together.
Oh, that's amazing.
Really, really well. Like bacon eggs. Snow rallies are just, there's nothing in the world to touch them.
Tommy's back again. He reckons there's TV footage of you in an ambulance with the arms being pulled off you after the Scona in Donegal. Don't know where that is. I don't have a copy of it. Billy McMullen, another great rallying. Superb years of Cullen, the boys, 89 years. Anthony, yeah. Brian Grant, great pilot in his time. James, fantastic to watch. Is that Brian Grant, I wonder? Yeah. Great talent, this man. Definitely James. Andrew McTaggart, very sure in his co-driver. Yeah. There we go. There's a story.
Andy's one of the guys was out in Finland with us. So I don't know what I didn't have now.
Indeed. Well, I'm sure there's a story there. Sharon reckons Ellen was, you're absolutely right, Ellen. To see the Sierra coming up through a mountain in 91 is an unforgettable sight, yeah.
To do Ramelton is like, you know, for the people who have done it, don't really, you know, that if you haven't done a town stage, and that atmosphere, you know, you don't know what you're missing, you know, and we were lucky enough to do several of them.
Yeah. I even did the rally sprint. I finished
back
third
in,
in the rally sprint.
back in the Donegal Championship days, like I forgot about that one, where the number of rallies we had in Donegal. We had Remelton Sprint too.
Big D brought the M1 BMW to do course car. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
There we go. Kieran McAnallen, a great embassy for a great sport and good years of rally, and he definitely was. And Robert's here, great stories from GM, very talented. Who's this, Reba Cullen? Sorry.
Reba's only getting through there now.
No, she was there a while ago. But there's so many comments here, I just can't get through.
Well, Andy, Kieran Burke was service for me as well from Galway, through George.
That's it.
And all that, so we wouldn't know what, you know, it was all part of that team at the time. Like that carried us around plenty of events. Like, you know. And
then, of course, this man as well.
Yeah, who's this boy?
Who's this boy?
Who's this boy?
There's some stories in that boy.
The one and only.
The one and only. We'll have to get him on one night. Because he can definitely chat. Nice to see you guys. Very sad about man to go on, but not forgetting him. Like, you're right.
Mm-hmm. We've lost a lot of, you know, that's the other side of rally. We have lost a lot of friends. We all know, close friends and things down the years, like, but.
You know, you think of some of the names that we mentioned there, Mark Glover, Roger Freeman, and, but that's
Hornsey
sport.
And Colin Manus, you know, locally here, like good, you know, the guy who was there when I started, Eamon Harvey, Danny Caddy, Sammy Fisher, you know, in the Yellow Money. And
I know.
Oh, it's like.
Do you remember the program with Sammy as well that they put out? The 3 programs. There's 3 sections on it. The Circuit Ireland, I think that's great.
Old Plum.
Of course, Sammy was a competitor of ours in 1600 class for many years. You know, so Anthony, unbelievable team efforts back in the day. 100% commitment, but it was always something else. The sportsmanship. Birdie. Solberg's car from Pro Drive Legends just sold for $350, built by Andy Brown. Yes, that was the 2004 car, I think. Great evening's talk. Thanks. You're welcome. Thanks to these shows. Take a trip to the Emerald. Yeah, Ian, come over. You'll get a good welcome. Michael, great evening's show. James is always a gentleman. Aidan Caddy. DC is all very proud of your achievements. He was. Danny. Thank you from Mick. Robin Luke, another great interview. Good stories from James, definitely. And Fergal said, remember having the Buckler t-shirts, wore it until it ran out of thread. He was my idol as a young fella going to rallies, and after listening tonight, no wonder. What a gentleman. You're absolutely right. Brilliant. Some great stories tonight. Thanks, Andrew. Cahill. Just you get a green tick there from Cahill, so that's good.
That's a pint on whenever time we get back out again.
I know. A proper gentleman, Jesse, is always the time to chat. Sean Tracy, good man as well. There we go. Lots there. And let's just go fast forward now. We need to move on a bit. So I think we got up to about 99, which is this machine here.
Okay.
So
Cracker of a car. Yeah.
This is, you know, if you hadn't rallied one of these, you didn't know what you were missing out on, I suppose, until you get into it. Suspension wise, particularly, I'd have thought.
It's just like it fitted like a glove. You sat in the car, and everything was what it was supposed to be. What I used to say, when different people asked, it was like the ad that used to be on the telly. For the fucking Ron Seal, what was it? Geez, I forget now. It does exactly what it says in the tin.
Yeah. Ron Seal it was, yeah.
Yeah, it does exactly what it said in the tin. You sit under the car, the seats are right, the driving position's right, everything's at your fingertips, it stops, it turns in, it handbrakes.
It's like a cat landing.
You can drive it like a Mark II if you want to.
Mm-hmm.
You can drive it, whatever your ability is, you can drive it to that ability. Super car. Super car. And we're very lucky with that car too, like from when Kenny got it, like it was ex-Freddie Door. And Kenny got it, and I was the first to get it on it. Myself and Rory actually were the first 2 people to drive it, apart from Kenny up the road somewhere. We did Cavan as a shakedown for Donegal.
Uh-huh.
And Rory came down with me and did that rally. And then, then we won. That was the car won Donegal.
Yeah. Do you remember Brina that year? You did it in reverse?
Yeah.
Okay.
After we had the problem.
Yeah.
And the dander was up.
Let's have a look at it. I've got a video here. It's about 4 minutes. If you want a quick comfort break, I'll play this. And,
right.
So here we go. Let's watch James and Ellen and Brina the opposite way in 1999 in that Impreza.
Go! Right into flat crest and flat right. 20, flat right. 30, flat crest. 30, crest dip, flat crest. 30, flat left. 30, crest. 20, flat left, bump from the bush. 30, flat left. 40, to the house, flat crest to the trees. 30, late, flat right. 30, crest jump, bump flat left, 20 flat left, 20 left over jump and crest 30 medium right tight, and flat left 50, crest, left over crest 20 fast right, 30, crest late flat right long over 30, 40, late flat right to the pole, 200, late flat left maybe, jump, 200, crest flat left, 40, side, care, crest 20 fast, K left, stone inside, 20. Long late, fast left. Long flat right. Keep out and easy right. Flat right. 50. Flat left and bump flat right. 20 cut flat right maybe. And flat right to the floor. Crest left into medium right tight. And flat right, 30, flat right and flat right, 30, cut flat right, 20, flat left, 30, trees, cut flat right, maybe, 30, flat left, 20, flat right, 20, care, long, easy right, 20, left, cut easy right, flat left, long, 30, bump 20, slight left, and flat right, 20, flat right, trees, 20, flat right, 20, cut slight right, easy left, tight, flat right, and left, and right, 20, care, fast right, tight, 30, flat left and right, and slight left, cut, slight right, flat left, late fast left, 20, crest 20, fast right, flat crest, crest, flat left, and flat right, left into slight left over jump, slight right, 20, crest left, 20, easy left, slight right, 20, flat right, 20, easy left, bump, 30, slight left, 20 fast, K right, 20, flat right and left, 20, flat left, 30, flat crest, 40, keep left over crest, 20, crest into cut, slight right, maybe, 30, stop.
You remember enjoying that?
Oh, at some stage now. So it just brings a wee story from when I got the car from Kenny. I went down to do a wee test out in Muckies, you know. There's any wee tips for how do you drive these cars and so on. But, right, he says, when you're up through the gears, there's a wee shift light, don't put it on. And when you get it in sixth, try and keep it on as long as you can.
It goes through gears like nothing. That's the first thing.
Just get up to try not to put the light, don't just keep changing up the gears and So I was super car height. Jesus was it really was like, you know. But I was just saying there, like, somebody pulled me up on it how bad my notes were recently. But like we were learning in those days, you made your own. But
Of course.
what throws my distances are notional distances; they're not meters. My 30 is 100. My 20 is 60. You know, it's about a third. If you multiply everything by third, once I get to 100, I don't
But
really
it doesn't
bother.
matter as long as you know it.
No,
It
it doesn't matter
Yeah.
who does, like, you know, but so, no, some very eloquent pace note person told me recently who knows for shite.
Well, just imagine if you had good notes and what you would have done.
But we got it managed all right on them. Like, no, but as I say, we made them up as we went along. You learned a lot too as you move forward.
Well, I go back
You
to
know,
what you said.
there's nobody to teach you anything in those. You know, we didn't have the Pattersons towards the end of it all, that sort of thing. But at the beginning, you did your own thing.
Of course. So that was 99, the second win, of course, and then the following year you're up against it with Mr. Nesbitt in the P2000 car, which is the year he won every stage, 20 stages, whatever. So
I was like trying to beat a Mercedes with a Williams, wasn't it? So it wasn't a time back. So
yeah, so then
and that was it. You know, there was no point going any further after that. Like,
no,
that was the end of our. You know, we thought that we could to get a budget for the next generation of car was beyond any connection or any way we thought we could put it together. Like, we put together some fairly good deals in the, you know, we struggled through on small budget. But if you run those cars, you can't run those cars on small budgets.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's only one way to do it, and that's do it right. And then so that was the writing was on the wall. Then just to
it is
take a back seat.
And at the end of the day, what are you going to do? It's a hell of an amount of money to find, and yeah, it's just for fun at the end of the day, isn't it?
It's just for fun, and really at the end of the day, and you know, when as you get old, you know, you get on, you realise it's a maybe an addiction more than a hobby, but it's still a hobby. Like, you do, you know,
or it's a bungalow
to do it. But so
I'll buy a bungalow or I'll do Donegal.
And I went down too many stages for me with the price of the house. So it's time to stop.
I know, but you had a bit of fun along the way. You had Bobby King's car.
What a great. So there was, you know, and that, you know, people like Bobby, like we did.
That's Galway, I think.
I did the
2005.
Manx myself. We did the Manx National in that one year. Someone happened it. We won Galway in that, the national.
That's Reba with you as well.
And then we were excluded.
Oh, right, okay.
For apparently illegal servicing.
Yeah, I heard.
We were in a farmyard. Reba had to go to the loo because she had a private personal
okay. Anyway,
and wouldn't accept that. But like Bobby's car or the Porsche, he couldn't put a spare wheel in it because the bonnet wouldn't close.
Right.
Bobby was about, as Bobby is very enthusiastic and a great guy, so Bobby was turned up at the end of the stages, but it not in the car but a glass of mineral, like, you know.
I know.
And you went to the van, there wasn't one spare part for it because Bobby says this car just needs a few wheels and tires and petrol, doesn't break anything, don't need spares. So I get annoyed by it, but at the time, like, you know, when I hadn't done the rallies for a while, but then, you know, that service and the chase cars were all banned and all that sort of thing. But
yeah,
I was coming out at the end of the stages and I was waving away everybody. It was the same as when I had rallied before. All the chase cars are all out at the end of the stages and everybody was waving to me. But anyway, I think actually somebody protested. Maybe that's what happened as well. But anyway, and we did Donegal in one year as well. So.
And then there was Evo 6. His Gary Jennings talked you into this, the Ballyrain.
Gary, one night in the Mount Donegal, we're saying, what will we do? Well, you know, wouldn't mind a few rallies again for the crack here, sort of thing. And right, he says, Kieran Graffin, get an Evo 6. They're X amount of money and there's not a thing wrong with them.
That one was, okay.
Yeah, I went up and we did a deal with KG and I did we done 3 years. An Evo 6, an Evo 7 and an Evo 9, ending up with the Reed transport team and all that time at the end of that. Along with
this is Donegal in 2006, I think.
That's myself and Reba in Donegal in 2006, is it right?
Yeah, that would have been, And then 2007 was that.
That was the Reed one now. But they were those were good enough cars, like there's nothing wrong with them.
And then this bad boy was the last one.
This was just now the swan song, maybe.
2016.
2016, there are a few guys on the night. A guy called Aidan Caddy and Stephen Sheridan, and a few guys decided maybe we should go one more time.
Yeah.
And I got another very good friend of mine's on board, Martin Doherty, and they put together this plan, and they wanted a Mark II Escort, and they went to Ryan Loughlin, and they got all local community guys again, like, and Letterkenny guys came together, and the whole thing happened, and we had a ball. Yeah. We actually had, every one of us had a ball.
I can imagine the service area,
it was great. No pressure, and just actually enjoy everything that is good about rallying without the pressure and without having to do what you needed to do. You didn't need to look after people. There was no pressure on you to get the times. You just went out and enjoyed the fact you could do the Donegal Rally, and you were going down a closed road and a proper Mark II Escort. Didn't matter
proper closed roads as well, like proper, best roads in the world.
Yeah, best roads in the world. And you didn't, there was no pressure. Wild, as we were saying, Donegal, wild crack.
It is, yeah. But even the stories from that rally, you could sit here and probably talk for another half hour, 3/4 of an hour, and the build up to it, and even just some of the stories about Boyce's Cafe alone.
Boyce's Cafe was the Facebook of the day, wasn't it? It was. If you wanted to find out anything, you went to Boyce's Cafe, and for 3 weeks before the Donegal Rally, it was just, it was Mecca. That's where you went.
Just to finish off then, because we need to draw us to a halt, just talk us through what was like in the build up to Donegal Rally. As a local living in Letterkenny, I know what it was like around South Armagh when navigation rallies were coming, but to be in Letterkenny in the build up to the rally must have been incredible crack.
It was like a fever.
Yeah,
people lost the run of themselves. Like, seriously, you talk about Vincent Boner, James McDade, another great friend who I co-drive for, a great Donegal legend driver. Like the buzz, the hype, the excitement, and the stories, and what he would, it was just, people actually bought anything to get to do this rally. Like, you didn't have money 6 months before it, 3 weeks before it. Whatever it cost, get the part, mortgage it, borrow it, and that's not just those guys. Like every guy, and like there's over 100 something rally cars in Donegal, so each one of those felt the same. So whatever it took to get this car out, work all nights, work all jobs, do whatever you needed to done, and then go back to the older days of the pre and paste note days, like all the stories about wrecking and what you had to do and where the stages were going and what was on. And this all started at Easter. After the Circuit of Ireland, the Donegal Rally for the Donegal boys started. Planning where the stages were, what you would do, what you're going to get, how you could get it. And Boyce's Cafe, before internet and before Facebook and social media, whatever, that was the place to find out everything.
Yeah. Was that like a regular every morning? If you're self-employed, you go down there most mornings, or
and even if you weren't self-employed, you try to get, you could find some way of getting in for something. And it was like a place like all sport, like it was the soccer guys were there, the GA guys were there, the rugby guys were there.
Really? I didn't know
if you wanted a tradesman, if you wanted the job done, the painters were there, the plumbers were there were mechanics there. It was all facets of life in Donegal, from business people, wealthy people, to the guys, to the normal working guys, and you had the rally tables and the soccer tables and the GA tables, and it was, and like the buzz before, it was definitely, the lead in was a month, and sure, for 3 weeks before, most boys will tell you, no work done. Like Donegal Rally was 2 weeks off work. Some people hated to see it coming because their boys disappeared. You wouldn't get nothing. You couldn't get you wouldn't get plumbers, or you wouldn't get mechanics. You wouldn't get,
It's something else.
Imagine landing up to James McDade with a problem with a lorry 2 weeks before the rally.
Don't
not
cry.
a chance of that. But I would have just using James as an example. Like, but it was the same all over. Like, doesn't matter whose garage you turned up to or where. It was Donegal. Who's coming? What are they coming? And it was a huge event too then as well. Like, it was great to be part of it. Rory tell you the same, and every and he's rallied at every level there is. But to come back to where you come from, and how big this rally was, and we were, it was our sport.
Yeah.
We're all behind Donegal when you were behind Fern Harps, you're behind Ireland, you're behind all, whatever. But this was our sport, and it was the talk of the town for at least a month before it and 2 weeks after it.
Yeah, yeah. And the ifs and the buts and the
ifs and the buts and
the post-mortem like would have been great. And the skids would have been massive. Here we go. We got a campaign going already for 2022.
It has to be historic, I don't.
An R5 car.
R5 might be historic by the time I get out there.
Do you ever do West Cork?
Never did. One of the things regret, I never did West Cork. The gravel notes on it for George and for somebody else, and that's all. No, never did West Cork.
Brian Grant sounds always a shame money decides rally winners. Talent is the way. Total respect. Well, just tell us the Peugeot story, because that was quite close at one point, wasn't it? Des O'Dell.
It was through Alan. Well, the name keeps coming up again, but the story that I was told was Dad came over to Donegal, because obviously Alan had been talking to him, knew a good bit about it. Was it the bottom of Knockalla where you come down to the football field, they're real fast, but after where McHale went off one time, and the stage that year went hairpin reft, and apparently the boy came in way too deep, and Des thought this was all over, got the whole thing speed scrubbed up, handbrake down the way, nice and neat and done, everything 100% the way it should be. So Ellen rang one night and says, would you drive for Peugeot next year? Des told me the story. And I said, yeah. when to go? So she says, not say nothing about it yet. They were talking, blah, blah, blah. And then I got a call from Brian Patterson.
Brian's always his finger on the pulse.
Who is so sadly missed. Was very good to me down the years as a journalist, as end of stages and just words, and through the good times and through the bad times, and all that, and both Brian and Liz and I have great time for. But anyway, to go back, what I was talking about, sorry.
It's Peugeot.
The Peugeot thing. Brian rang to see what the story was. I said, well, no, I don't know. I can't say anything. I don't know much about it. But long story short, I went to the powers that be above Des, and at that particular time, an Irishman and a British dealer team didn't fit.
Didn't fit,
shall we say? So
it was complicated.
It was complicated. That was the end of that. So.
But it just shows you the talent was recognised. You think about Des O'Dell and who went on, who drove.
Well, I was delighted that he thought of me and the light of the other people who he would have brought to the stage, to the rally stage. When you think, most of them were world champions. So
you think about it.
When you think of Richard Burns, Toivonen, and going back and
there's a list of people.
There's a list of people.
James, we could talk for another 2 or 3 hours, but I'm just conscious that we're very close to 3 hours. Can you believe it?
No, certainly not.
It goes quick.
I only had one, and for my age, that's not bad now. For one of the problems that comes with being a pensioner is comfort breaks. So I'm managed all right.
We've got a couple in there. That's fine. Listen, folks, you stay where you are, James, a second. If you want to watch any more of these stories and listen to, I should say, rally stories from some legends of Irish rally in particular, there's loads there. Just go to stagebystage.com/blog. And as I said, the podcasts in particular are quite good for anybody starting out or anybody who wants some advice on how to perform a little bit better. Then you'll find them there as well. James, thanks very much for all your time tonight and for agreeing to do it in the first place. The amount of love that's there for you, I could scroll through a load more of these messages now. There we go. Look at this. Fantastic memories from Cynthia. Yeah, it's just loads coming in. It's just
if I could say before you go, just thank you for having me on. I enjoyed it tremendously. The slot with Andy was fantastic. I didn't know a thing about that, and it was just great. I heard his voice recently on the other broadcast, but to actually see him again, and I have to thank all the people who made it possible for me. Some of the stories you told tonight, the people who came together to allow me to go rallying, and just thanks for all the fantastic comments. Like they were mind blowing. You don't think that anybody pays much attention to you, really. And just thank you to everyone.
Yeah,
heartfelt thanks to everyone.
Here. Well, they're making the comments for a reason, so well done on you over the years to do it. And we didn't really get time to talk about all the gravel notes and the touring of the world that you did on the back of, again, building relationships with the Harrimans and people like that, and just incredible. James, take care, and the rest of you, no show next week because it's bank holiday weekend. I have a big coaching job on, so I won't be here. Or I'll be here, but I'll be busy. The following week, we'll definitely do it again the Sunday night. So 2 weeks, first weekend in June, probably the 6th of June, then we'll be back again, folks. And we'll see you then. In the meantime, take care. All the very best.